Hey everybody, welcome back to Alien RPG. This is Hachiman, aka Marty. Just want to thank everybody for joining us either on Twitch or YouTube after the fact. Hope you enjoy. We'll be starting in about 30 minutes here, and I hope you guys will like and subscribe, turn your notification bells on. Please comment below, thumbs up this video. It really helps get this content out. I really love this game. I enjoy playing it, and I love bringing it to you guys. Everything that I've done on YouTube and Twitch at this point, there's a wide range of videos, are all my own made scenarios, which you can find on my website. The comments for that will be down below. And thank you so much, guys. Aesthetic differences. So, all right. Well, welcome to San Tome. Jesse, we're missing Andy. He just said he's got too much going on. He just couldn't make it. So, the great Dr. Monahan will have to be an NPC for the time being. And I'm going to move us over to the colony map so that we can see that. That cover art, by the way, was is another Wumbo art. All I did was punch in the word San Tome, and that's what it came up with.
Weird.
Had a very nice village on the bay kind of aesthetic vibe, and I liked it. Right. So you guys see the San Tome colony map, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect. All right. Talking about where you guys are. San Tome is a colony on LV-703, a moon, essentially, that is, oh, there we go, is a moon orbiting a gas giant in a system some 14 parsecs from Earth. It's one colony. San Tome was established here almost 3 years ago as a joint venture between 3WE and LaSalle Bionational. The company has specific interest in pharmaceutical adaptations of the moon's native fauna, as well as a burgeoning interest in mining operations, so it made a perfect partnership for the Three World Empire, which is always looking for opportunities to expand amidst American and UPP imperialism and aggression. Unfortunately, the colony is so far from 3WE space, it makes supportive logistics nightmarish, and while 703 generally provides everything a colony would need for self-sufficiency, the small group of colonists began to feel abandoned by their government. Unrest began to grow among 3WE citizenry, spurred along by the arrival of a charismatic new arrival, Nostromo Giovanni Fidanza, a captain in the RMC stationed there to help the colony administer and maintain control and morale. Captain Fidanza instead defected to the UPP and staged a daring yet surprisingly peaceful coup, which removed 3WE control and handed the colony over to the UPP. Three World Empire citizens were even allowed the opportunity to evac peacefully. What's that, Bob?
Viva Librate!
To say that LaSalle Bionational was in on the coup would be probably a vast overstatement, but it is clear the company saw the proverbial writing on the wall. Adina LaSalle herself was in negotiations with the UPP for months before the final coup took place, leading many people to assume that the change of power was specifically delayed until the negotiations came to a successful conclusion. San Tome now has a population of about 80 people, a dozen LaSalle Bionational employees, 50 former 3WE citizens, and about 20 UPP support staff and soldiers. The general mood of the colony is uncertain, but not unhappy, as everyone learns to work with one another. The UPP staff watch the company employees closely, expecting capitalist duplicity at any moment, while LaSalle's employees fear communist takeover of their efforts is imminent. LV-703 is fraught with life, flora, and fauna, and LaSalle is right that the opportunities for pharmaceutical advancements from this life are immense. Is immense? Are immense? I'm not sure. I've checked the grammar on that. The moon has vast amounts of water and is tropical around the equator, but temperate at the poles. It has a quick day-night cycle, making a complete rotation in only 8 hours, and is almost blindingly bright during the day. At night, the moon is bathed in soft blue planet light from the nearby gas giant, so it is never fully dark outdoors. San Tome is in a subtropical region about 150 kilometers north of the equator in the eastern hemisphere, situated where a wide freshwater river descends from a range of mountains into a saltwater bay. The colony mostly sustains itself with fish and shellfish from the bay and harvests large amounts of natural citrus-like fruits from the nearby jungles. Adina LaSalle, always directly involved in all of our company's dealings, handpicked the location itself based on large amounts of local life and apparently heavy readings of germanium, chemosite, and other ores in the nearby mountain range. The company started a mine some 6 kilometers from the colony proper about a year ago to begin reaping those rewards. And last, a word on spiders. The area around San Tome is fraught with a species of large wolf spider that often reach about 5 inches leg span, mostly brown and very hairy. They're not dangerous to humans, only other small arthropods and each other. They're viewed by the colonists as pests, but they are absolutely everywhere.
5 inches. 5 inches, is that tip of the leg to tip of the leg, or is that one leg?
Tip of the leg, tip of the leg.
Okay.
So he's a big guy. You know, they're big, but there are spiders on Earth that are easily that big as well.
I've already increased my stress.
I've got a couple of things that I've introduced with this scenario that I haven't had in other scenarios, really. One of them being languages. I've always thought that it was a shortage in the game that there wasn't a language mechanic. So everyone on their character sheets will have a couple different languages. In terms of like campaign play, character advancement, a new point in a skill or a new a new talent is 5 XP points. I treat a language the same way. So some of you have more languages than others, which means those of you who have less languages will probably find that you've got maybe an extra talent or a couple more skill points than somebody else. But it allows a little more fun and intrigue. And then the last thing
Where is that listed on the character sheet, Martin?
It's actually not on the Oh, maybe it is on the character sheet.
It is.
Is it under talents? It's under talents.
Yeah.
Under talents?
Yeah. Look at talent. Look out at the end. Usually on my sheet, it's under talents 3, Roman numeral 3.
Yeah, same.
Okay. Gotcha. Excellent. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. And then with this one, I also introduced I also introduced what I kind of considered a new use for the survival skill. I think it mostly impacts Monahan, but survival, I don't care what anyone says, survival is the most underused skill in the game. You know, I mean, it's only if I'm out in the wilderness and I need to look at my Samani E-Series watch to figure out which way's north that people tend to use it, you know. So I've kind of made it useful for scientists because survival is actually, I believe, one of the core skills for the scientist career. And basically, if I'm mixing chemical A and chemical B together and just seeing what they do when I mix them together, that's an observation roll, okay? But if I want a particular amount of chemical A, adding it to a particular amount of chemical B with an expected result, that would be where they roll survival instead. So that's... It's just a minor addition, but something that might make survival actually do something, as opposed to just sit on most people's character sheet and not get used. So it's still used for the basic stuff. I mean, but it's kind of like if you're out in the woods and it's cold and you want to build a fire, and you know how to build a fire, you make a survival roll to see if you're successful. Well, that's not much different from the scientist adding 10 milliliters of chemical A to half a liter of chemical B, expecting it to do whatever it's going to do, an exothermic reaction or what have you. So it's kind of the same concept, if that makes sense. So the map of San Tome right in front of you. San Tome is a relatively large colony built with room to grow. The southern section of the colony is the habitation complex, which you should see everything pretty clearly marked as to what it is. The large rectangular building itself, yep, down there, is what the heck?
Feed.
There we go. Am I here? I'm here. All right. The large rectangular building itself is the prefab habitation building. This spot that says fish processing is a steel building that's basically been bolted onto the outside of habitation. You've got a large square warehouse type building here called the Vehicle Depot, which houses quite a few Daiho-type tractors. They are special designs that are actually able to go amphibiously into water for the fish harvesting that this colony does. The sections up here, these are the LaSalle Bionational company areas. The LaSalle Labs, which are basically run by Monaghan, and then the mining ops, warehouse, and ore processing, which is kind of Gould's area. Also connected to habitation is medical and command. Nostromo, you have a tiny little office right there on the edge of command. Whoa, I accidentally moved the map. I didn't mean to. I hit the wrong layer. Sorry about that. It is, time of day wise, it is 8 a.m. Earth Standard Time, so the day is just getting going. Now, with the day-night cycle on this planet, it is actually right about midday. The hottest portion of the day, it's about 35 degrees Celsius, and it is blindingly bright outside. The Nostromo has a kind of a colony head meeting at 4 p.m. Eastern, or 4 p.m. Earth Standard Time, which means you guys all have about 8 hours before that meeting occurs. I would assume that Nostromo's having that meeting in his office. So, who wants to go first? We'll just start on left to right. Colonel Sotillo, what are you up to?
I will get a freshly pressed uniform, dress, and get a cup of coffee and survey the day's reports.
All right, very good. Tell us a little bit about Colonel Sotillo.
Colonel Sotillo is a smoldering Latin beauty. She is potentially older than she looks, but you never ask a lady or a colonel her age. She looks very buff and definitely works out. And she hails, or originally her parents hailed from Colombia. And then they went to the UPP. But don't ask her the details. I think buy her a drink or two. She basically is there to make sure that the mine is starting to make a profit and that the scientists start to deliver on what they promised.
There we go. Yeah, and just something that you're all aware of, Colonel Sotillo does have a group of a half dozen UPP soldiers that are there under her command. Pretty much the only people in the colony who are armed. All right. So you're in your office doing that. Let's see, left to right. Martin DeCowd. Did I pull you onto the map? I don't think I've got you on the map.
Nope.
Um,
Still in his bunk.
Yeah, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to pull you over, and actually have a spot for you right here in good old fish processing.
Delicious.
Yeah. You were actually pulled to fish processing by a roughneck this morning. Well, it's like I said, it's 8 a.m. Earth Standard, so it's it's first thing in the morning. As soon as you got up, you were grabbed by one of the local roughnecks. There's a problem in fish processing. When you get there, you find that the entire fish processing center is infested with wolf spiders. The last roughneck out for the evening apparently didn't close the door behind him, and you've got probably 3-4 days worth of food that's got spiders all over it. So a less than wonderful situation probably. You have your own suspicions as to why he left the door open. For example, you know that there is a still hidden amongst the machinery in fish processing. You probably, whether or not you've made an issue of it, it's up to you, I suppose. But so that's I kind of threw you under the bus and told you what you're up to.
Okay.
Gould, where are you at?
Hold it.
Oh, yeah.
How much do we know about Martin Decoud?
Oh, good call. I'm sorry. Tell us about him.
So Martin Decoud or Decoud, I'm not sure what the correct pronunciation is.
Whichever you prefer.
We'll go with Decoud.
Sounds good.
He is a physically large man, obviously very strong, has been a roughneck all his life, has a kind of down-to-earth, laid-back demeanor. He is officially the workers' representative on the colony, which he appears to treat as a very important, or I should say, he performs his duties sincerely. He appears to care very much about the workers and often does little things to keep the peace or to help workers with their individual concerns. He's known for having something of an open door policy, goes by his first name everywhere. And what else? Yeah, he's kind of an unassuming guy.
All right, very good. Gould.
Okay, well, I'm assuming LaSalle Mining Ops, my office is right where my icon is in that building.
You got it. And you actually have, in addition to in your office, you actually have a bunk built into your office. So you don't necessarily have to bunk in down in the dorms with everybody else. Same thing for everyone same thing goes for Monahan. She has her own bunk in her office as well. Sorry, continue.
Well, I'm just doing the same thing. I'm going over any reports from previous shifts, any just coming up to speed, plan of the day kind of stuff, what's happening with the operation. I'm in charge of the mining operation.
Yep.
And so to let everybody know, Gould is in charge of the mining part of the operation. He's quite capable. He grew up in the Midwest of on Earth, in what you would term to be Indiana. He's pretty smart. He looks physically fit, and he's been extremely successful holding together pulling together other colonies that were failing or having trouble. And he's rebuilt some of these that have been wiped out from biological weapons or other upsets. And he strikes you as pretty even-tempered guy. Doesn't get flustered much. Let's work the problem and get things done kind of guy. He works for LaSalle.
Yeah.
And he's just trying to keep the mining operation productive.
Alrighty. And Comrade Intendant Nostromo Giovanni Fidanza. How are you this morning? What are you up to? Nostromo, you alive?
I don't hear you.
No.
I can't hear him either.
Yeah, do the reconnecty thing.
Hey, Bob. I suggest maybe in the future you make this character portrait your default avatar, brother.
It's easy on the eyes, that's for sure.
There it goes. Oh my god. Reconnecting. Reconnecting.
I see your survival roles, Marty. Are you like reinventing like gunpowder, or what are you doing?
Yeah. This doesn't look good. Yeah. I'm also not showing that I'm transmitting. Am I transmitting?
I hear you. I
Okay.
see
I hear
you.
you too.
Alright, cool. Usually I get the volume bar at the bottom, and it's just not doing that, so it made me nervous. Alright, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to, while we're waiting for him, we will come back to him. So I'm going to start back at the top. So Tio, you said you were going to grab a cup of coffee and
Hold
review
it, I have
morning
a
reports.
question.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
You're playing the doctor?
Yeah, I'm playing Monahan.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I should, as soon as he's trying to connect.
Dang.
Well,
That's potentially another reason why I guess a lot of people like Discord is it's a lot more stable.
yeah.
Sorry, Jesse, I can't hear you. I don't know about the others, but I
Nope.
still can't hear you.
Yeah, I still get the reconnect button. Well, let me try and reconnect.
Me
Can you
too.
try again? Reloading.
Hey, there he is. I hear him.
Oh,
All right, I
okay.
better
I don't know what was
I
going on
better,
there. I had to switch to a
reload as
different
well.
browser.
Yeah, anyone who can't hear him, just reconnect. You should be able to hear him then.
Weird.
I heard a weird.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I just like decided that I was a silent comrade. Okay. So wait for everyone to jump back in.
Yeah. We lost Charles, I think, here.
No, I see him.
Oh, you're there. Okay. I thought you were frozen.
No, just waiting.
He's still. Is Crom loading back in, or is Crom there?
I'm showing him loading.
Me too.
Ruh-roh. No.
Should we reconnect again?
Yeah.
Yeah, who can hear me now?
I hear you.
Marty. Get a little motion thing from Charles.
Charles, you hear Nostromo?
I can't hear anybody.
You can't
I
hear
don't
anybody?
I hear you. I don't hear those guys.
I can hear Charles and Marty.
Yeah, I hear
Oh, so we can hear
Tio.
Colonel. We can hear you. I can't hear Marty. Oh no, I hear Marty. I can't hear Martin.
How about me?
Hear you, Charles.
Okay.
I
Still
can
not.
hear Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
This is weird. Does this thing do this all the time?
It hadn't recently.
No, it goes through phases.
Yeah, the first I think the first time we played Rule of Robots, we spent 15 minutes trying to get everybody's, crap working. Or maybe it was and then we ended up using Discord, I think, because we just couldn't get everybody's stuff to come together. We haven't had any problems in a while, though.
Nope.
Nothing major, at least. Nothing a quick reconnect didn't fix.
We're still working on the gym to try and use Discord.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey!
Did it work?
Yeah.
We have life.
We're back.
Sweet.
All right.
All right, so, Nostromo.
Huh.
What are you up to?
So Nostromo's checking for incoming, messages from the UPP, checking reports in, getting the report about the wolf spiders and the fish processing, and making a good use of his proletariat bunk. And I'm a go along to get along kind of guy. I appreciate the workers we have around, although I wish we didn't necessarily have all the bigwigs we did over at LaSalle.
And just to give you guys a little background on Dr. Monahan, who would be Andy's character, she is a LaSalle Bionational scientist that focuses in pharmaceuticals. She is there to look at the native flora and fauna and see what she can make use for the company, because obviously the company's for profit, and that's what it's here to do, is find something that it can sell. And she has something that would be common knowledge, is that she actually has 2 projects that she is working on. One of them is revolving around a native succulent-like plant that she believes that that liquid found inside that plant might be used to make some sort of industrial lubricant. And then the other project actually has to do with all these damn spiders that are running around everywhere. Like all spiders, they have venom, but it's nothing dangerous to humans. However, in a large enough in a large enough quantity, it might make a decent painkiller. So those are the things that she's working on. So Nostromo, in regards to you, I'm going to start on the right and make my way left. You're like you said, you've already got the initial reports on what's going on with fish processing, and that's a problem. The initial reports looks like that 3 or 4 days of the food have been lost. And that could cause some long-term concerns, especially when it comes to the incoming message you did receive. It came in about an hour and a half ago while you were still asleep, from UPP Colonial, stating that the next supply ship has actually been delayed, so additional personnel, as well as the medical supplies and any additional, backup food like prefab meals and that type of thing, have now been pushed back. They will not arrive for another 17 days.
Okay. Well, we'll have to ration according to that old Marxist proverb, from each according to their ability to each according to their need.
Glorious.
All right. Let's see here. Let me run over to. So Gould, you're up in your office reviewing things, going over what you're going over, and you actually get a call. You have a hand radio, do you not?
I do.
Yeah. You actually get a call. Your radio crackles up, and you hear this guy, who is Wayne Arpaia. Wayne is he's a roughneck. He's a LaSalle employee. He's actually he's actually kind of your right-hand man where mining is concerned. You don't actually get down and dirty in the direction of the mine itself. That's kind of his job. He's your staff sergeant, as it were. And so your radio comes up. You hear Wayne's voice. Good morning, Mr. Gold. Are you there?
I'm receiving you loud and clear.
All right, I'm on my way down from the mine. I'll be there. I'll be there shortly, maybe another 20 minutes or so. We've got a problem on the conveyor system. We've got a mechanical malfunction. I've checked it out. I can get it back up and running, but it's only a matter of time until it breaks again. We need something to help us out with this. We need axle grease or something. We can't keep these parts lubricated and keep this thing moving. So I'm headed down there. I've got some pictures of that for you, but I want to talk about another matter with you.
Okay. Do we have any? Besides the problem with lubrication, is there any physical damage yet to any of the main components of the conveyor?
No, I got that shut down before that became a problem. The computer system was picking up excess heat, and with machines, excess heat's not a good thing. So I shut her down immediately and went to where the readings were coming from, and it's just a lack of proper lubrication and maintenance is really what it is. But I don't know what we can do about that on this damn jungle planet we're on.
Okay, well, hustle back and we'll talk about it.
All right, I'll be there shortly. And he clicks off. Let's see here. So Martin, you're in fish processing. You've got. There's probably 3 or 4 roughnecks here, and they're trying to do everything they can to contain this, but there's just spiders crawling out of every damn container and pipe, and it's just a problem. You're really not sure that any of this can be salvaged. You don't know.
Well, the first thing Martin wants to do is get a couple of 3-4 shop vacs in here so we can start sucking up these spiders. We don't want to be resorting to, pest control where we make our food. So we're not going to be using, chemicals or poisons or whatnot, and we don't want to be crushing them either. So we're going to suck them all up, and once that's done, we'll have a better opportunity to look at how much spoilage there's been.
What's wrong with some bug bits in your fish? I don't see what the issue.
Well, we may not have any choice, seeing how our food has been delayed 17 days, and we've lost the last 4 days of fish processing.
Policy is that it's extra protein.
Delicious.
That's right. There's actually a food in the core manual in the book called bug juice. Yeah, fun times.
Yeah, spider processing. We'll rename it spider processing.
That's right. So a couple of roughnecks go out this door right here, and they head over to Vehicle Depot. Vehicle Depot is not just for vehicles. It has most of your equipment, tools, and that type of thing in it as well.
I will privately detail one of the guys to get the still out of fish processing and put it in the Vehicle Depot. We don't need that causing more problems.
All right. So yeah, this guy is gonna start working on that. All right, very good. Colonel Sotillo, you said that you were looking over reports and getting a cup of coffee, right?
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to slide you over to the galley where you're getting your cup of coffee, and you see this woman in there. This woman is, and I'm going to pronounce this incorrectly because my French is awful. I don't speak French, so there's part of the problem. Her name is Nice Toisson. She is actually an employee of LaSalle. She is specifically there to aid Dr. Monahan directly. If Wayne Arpaia is Gould's right hand guy, Toussaint is her is okay, no problem. Is Monahan's right hand lady. She doesn't talk a lot. She doesn't. She typically bunks in the main dorm, but she tries to avoid talking to most of the colonists as much as possible. But she's sitting there at a table with her own bad cup of coffee, a bottle of water, and she's opening up some sort of prefab meal, something that's kind of yellow and high in protein, you're sure.
I walk to her, nod, and may I sit down?
She kind of looks up, and when she sees who you are, and you almost see just a moment of fear pass through her eyes, and then she just kind of nods and says, "Okay."
I sit and kind of get comfortable. Look at her and say, "Good food here."
She says, "Well, no. I guess we're going to be on prefabs for a little while until they clean up this mess over in processing." And you actually can hear some clanking and banging around from in the fish processing center.
But I do not know how they could even allow that to happen. But the production costs alone, it is atrocious.
She says, "Yeah, I don't know. I guess somebody's going to be in trouble with that." But she kind of looks down at her watch. She goes, "Oh, wow! I didn't realize the time. I'm sorry. I'm late. I've got to go get with. I've got to go up and get with Dr. Monahan." And she kind of grabs her cup of coffee and her torn open prefab and says, I'm sorry, but I really do need to go."
Well, enjoy your day.
She goes, "Okay, thank you, Colonel," and she heads out the door, and she's headed this way. All right, you want to head back to the UPP section and do your thing with reports, or what else do you want to do? You tell me where you want to go. I'm sorry.
No, I think that's a good idea. I'll just head back and do my morning routine, and then maybe do a tour of how bad the spider infestation is.
All right. So that would eventually have you coming up through into fish processing where DeKalb is. There we go. And so DeKalb's there. There's a couple other roughnecks there. One of the roughnecks has come back with, like you said, with a couple of, I guess, the Alienverse equivalent of shop vacs. And they're spiders. There's just spiders everywhere. These damn things are everywhere. They're not really. They kind of avoid humans. They may come up to. They may kind of skitter up to your shoe, and then when they realize what you are, they turn and go the other way. They're really not that interested in you guys. Because you're big and you'll step on them, frankly. But they are everywhere. There's got to be hundreds of them in here. All right, let's see here. Actually, there's no door there. She comes in there and heads there. All right. Nostromo, are you still poring over things, or are you up to anything in particular?
I'm deciding on what our movie night's going to be, I'm leading towards a rewatch of the old Soviet film Battleship Potemkin. You know, black and white, 1920-ish, you know, real comrades in arms about the early struggles for workers' unity. And I'm also debating the morale of whether or not we, you know, if a few spiders end up in the food, whether or not it's keeping the extra rations or just for morale, if it's better just to salvage what we can and go to half rations or something like that as we need. Probably have to discuss it in the meeting.
All right. Yep. That makes sense to me. I like it.
What has mining told me? Do I hear the reports from Wayne and whatnot?
You haven't heard anything yet about the equipment issues. In terms of the general mining reports, the mine is currently producing relatively small amounts of it's not producing to the level that anyone has expected it should. It's right now its quarterly revenue is about 400,000 adjusted UA dollars, of which the UPP receives a quarter of as per the agreement. So $100,000 UA over 3 months. I mean, obviously, that's just a drop in the bucket when you look at the operating costs of a place like this. When you think about everything it takes to run a colony. However, LaSalle's expecting big things. They know the veins are there. They know the minerals are there. They just haven't quite found them yet, is the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm.
And as it stands right now, the lab section of LaSalle has produced nothing. You're not a scientist, but you probably have some idea that science is not, well, it's not an exact science.
It's much an art as a science.
That's right. You don't go from starting a scientific project to having something that you can turn into a saleable product overnight. Obviously, you know that. But as it stands right now, Labs has produced absolutely nothing for either LaSalle or the colony. So that would be your report on that side of LaSalle.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Anything else you'd like to add before I move on to Gould?
No. I'll deal with the mining reports when they come to me, or any worker reports when they come to me.
Sounds good. Gould. Wayne comes in through the main vestibule that connects the labs and the mining ops, and he comes into mining ops. Stops at the coffee pot really quickly, pours a cup of black coffee, takes a sip and grimaces as he starts to head over. He's got, like I said, Wayne's kind of he's a roughneck, overall. He's got a tool belt on. He's got a maintenance jack on it. He does carry some other sundry things. He's got his radio, his flashlight. He has a PDAT, which he pulls out and says, Mr. Gould, so I've got pictures here as well as data from the terminal as to what's going on. It's really just a lubrication issue. If we can figure that out, we can get the conveyor system back running. I've got it running now. It's only running at 20% efficiency. I just can't afford those parts to overheat and start to wear. But he's got his PDAT and he's flipping through pictures of the conveyor system.
Well, how are we for spares?
Well, we're expecting, the UPP is supposed to be dropping a supply ship sometime in the next 24 hours with additional parts. We're running lean right now.
All right. Well, Wayne, I know that you're doing your best, but and we got to get to the bottom of this. But it just seems like every time we're whacking moles here. Every time we fix one thing, something else is messed up, and pretty soon we're going to have to produce, or the saying, shit or get off the pot. So, all right, so let's address this issue and beware the next. So, what's the issue with lubricants? I know that mining operations use equipment that need lubricants. We should have a supply of lubricants that have been well tested and well used in other mining operations.
We did, but as you know, UPP is, frankly, UPP is just a pain in our ass. Every time LaSalle wants to bring us more of what we need, they want to inspect every single ship. They're scared of capitalist propaganda or some bullshit. I'm sorry, that's just the way I feel about it. And they don't want anything to come through LaSalle channels. They want it all to come through their vessels, but their vessels are old pieces of junk. They're barely flying, and they can't keep us supplied. It's just it's a problem. It's something that we're going to have at some point. We're going to have a serious discussion with some of the other powers that be around here.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
For the time being, at least, I heard the doc was working on something in this area with those wolf spiders. Walk with me. Let's go next door and talk to the doctor.
Yeah, we can. All right, very good. Before we do that, though, it's been a great morning. There's something else we got to talk about.
There's always one more thing, isn't there?
There's always one more thing, and this one's a problem. We in the mining operation we employ some of our own LaSalle guys, but we've got some of the colonists that are now, I guess, UPP, and this Martin DeCowd guy, he's their workers' rights representative, whatever that means. Sounds like communistic union bullshit to me. I don't know, but we got a problem. Not our guys. Our guys are okay for now, but it's only a matter of time before they start getting in on this. The colonists that are working up in the mine, they don't want to work. They're complaining about how hot it is during the day. I know how hot it is. I'm down there working with them, but they only want to work. They only want to put in 4 hours of an 8-hour shift. If their shift is at any point during the daytime on this moon, they don't want to work during that period because it's too hot. They say it's unsafe. But they want full pay, and I don't know how we're going to resolve this issue. Like I said, our guys are continuing on, but how long before our employees start listening to them?
How many shifts are you currently working?
We've got 2 shifts running per Earth Standard Day.
Okay. All right. Well, look, I'll talk to DeCowd, and meanwhile, maybe you can do a workaround. Maybe you can set it up so that you have a LaSalle supervisor on the evening shift and put most of your colonists on the evening shift, and then put most of your trusted LaSalle guys who do work on the day shift, and let's see if productivity changes. Meanwhile, I'll talk to DeCowd about this issue.
All right, that'll work. I'll do it right away. All right, so you guys want to head over to the lab?
Yeah, we do.
Okay. Your company access card allows you specific entry into any of the mining operations or processing warehouse, but it doesn't actually get into the lab section. That is Monaham's purview.
I'm assuming there's a doorbell.
Yeah, I would say there's a doorbell. The intercom, buzzes on, and you hear Nisa. She says, "Yes."
Oh, I meant to ask: she's an assistant? This is out of character. She's an assistant. Do we know? Is she degreed, or is she like a doctor, or is she just a clinician?
She would have the equivalent of she's the equivalent of a master's degree.
Oh, okay. So she doesn't use. I don't have to use the doctor moniker with her. So I'll just say, Miss Toussaint. This is Charles Gould, and Wayne Arpaio's with me, and we'd like to speak to the doctor for a few minutes, if she can spare the time.
She says, all right, let me go let her know. Give me just a moment."
Sure.
So about a minute later, you hear Monaham's voice come over the intercom. She says, "Mr. Gould, is there something I can help you with this morning? I'm very busy at the moment."
I understand. I hope so. This will only take a minute. I just want to ask a couple questions about how your research is doing. We have a particular problem you might be able to help us with.
She says, "All right."
Just a couple minutes.
She buzzes the door and says, "Come on in, let's talk."
Okay.
All right. So LaSalle Labs, this is really one large room, and there's a large quantity of scientific equipment, various microscopes, all sorts of beakers, sampling containers. There are multiple contained areas, one of which has a whole bunch of spiders in it. Thinking about like medical containment, where you can stick your arms in and that type of thing. And as well as there's actually hazmat suits as well, which are over to the wall. There's 2 of those. So it's a lot of scientific equipment. But she says, "So Mr. Gould, how can I assist you this morning?"
All right. Well, I look around a little bit. I'm assuming it's.
Please don't touch anything.
I'm not touching anything. I'm assuming it's safe to be in here, right? I see those hazmat suits. We don't need those now, do we?
No. And I don't know that, precautions, of course.
All right. Well, let me ask. Let me explain our issue. We're having trouble maintaining a sufficient supply of lubricant for all of our equipment, and I understood from some of your reports that that's something you're working on, and I was wondering how your research is going in that area, because we have a significant issue maintaining an appropriate amount of lubrication of our equipment, given the environment. We're probably getting a high oxidation rate, and we don't have the best supplies. So I was wondering how your research is doing in that area.
I'm actually very, very close. This species of succulents that grows in great abundance all over this area. I can show you myself. And she walks over to the terminal and she starts punching in. A large screen pops to life, and there's graphs, and there's charts, and there's data, and she goes, "So as you can see by the data, this would make an excellent natural organic lubricant. I am very close to isolating it to the point where it is ready for commercial or industrial use. In fact, I'm even to a point where we might be able to start some trials in the field, by tomorrow at the latest, I think."
Well, we'd very much like to set that up. Wayne, I'd like you to work with the doctor here. Let's pick a particular What we should do is pick a particular piece of equipment on the line. We have a conveyor belt. There's multiple parts that need lubrication, but we should pick one segment and just try your lubrication on that as a test. We'll go ahead and keep the other lubrication on all the other parts, and then we'll have a direct side-by-side comparison. This could really help us out a lot if it works out. Is this lubricant water soluble?
It is not water soluble, actually.
Okay, so that should be good for us.
Being
Good.
organic, that was rather surprising to me, but it is not, which is excellent for this environment, I would think.
Okay, Wayne, what do you think? Do you think this could help us out of our problem here?
Wayne's nodding. He says it's definitely worth a chance. He asked the doctor, how soon do you think we could start a trial? She says, well, I've got a few more things to do, and I've got something else cooking with our eight-legged friends over here.
Cooking spiders?
Well, figuratively, Mr. Gold, figuratively. I believe that certainly no later than our meeting time, she looks at her watch, our meeting time this afternoon, I should have something for you to try.
Okay.
If I can get back to work, that is. Anybody there? Shit.
Not quite. There you go.
All right, I'm here. Sorry about
Can you hear
that.
me? All right.
Yeah, I froze up on my end.
All right. So are these spiders like in a big like a big plexiglass?
Yeah, they're in a big
Ground or something?
plexiglass containment thing that's off to one side of the labs. It's it's a pretty big room. It's like 1 meter by 3 meters.
All right. Well, being careful not to touch anything. I just want to look in there. Is there a lot of spiders in it?
There's probably 10 or 12 of them in there. And Nisa is she's actually over there. She's got her hands into these big heavy glove things reaching in there. She's literally grabbing a spider and taking it, getting her hand on the back of it and sticking her finger down on the head and pushing its head into some sort of spongy type contraption. It's a rather disturbing thing that she's trying to do, it seems.
Doctor, do these spiders show any sign of intelligence? Are these like the spiders we're used to, around the other planets we've been in on Earth?
They seem to have a more complex sensory system than many of the spiders that we've seen. I would not call them intelligent, but they do have it does appear that they have a more advanced fight or flight reflex than the arachnids we're used to at home. They seem to recognize us as a danger and don't want to have much to do with us. Unlike most spiders back on Earth are fairly solitary. These, I wouldn't say they have any form of community. They're not like ants or anything along those lines, but they don't avoid each other as much as spiders on Earth do.
Yeah, like most spiders are territorial.
Yeah, these are not, though. Not to say that they won't kill each other. We have seen them attack each other, and we're not sure the provocation behind it.
Okay, well, it's interesting. I find them to be fascinating, and they're everywhere. So, I just want to learn as much as I can about them. So anyway, it'll be interesting to touch base with you from time to time, see how your work's doing. As for this possible lubricant, let's... oh, by the way, what do these spiders eat?
They mostly eat insects or small arthropods. We have a a roach-like insect that is very plentiful down at the docks. They seem to like those, and out in the jungles they eat any number of smaller insects, and occasionally each other.
Okay, I got an out of character question that we should know since we've been there a long time.
Sure.
The fish and shellfish. When we say shellfish, you literally are thinking bivalves, or are you thinking something more like arthropods, like a shrimp type thing?
More like shrimp. The bay the bay provides massive amounts of these shrimp-like creatures.
Okay. All right. So back in character, I was taught a long time ago that underwater arthropods are linked genetically, are linked in some way to insects and arthropods on Earth. So it's just interesting. So would these spiders, would they feed on our food, on our shellfish and other foodstuffs?
They may very well. I've not actually tested that specifically, but considering they will eat each other, and not just kill each other out of aggression, but I have actually witnessed these spiders actually physically eat each other. It tends to imply to me that they may eat just about anything given the option.
Okay, well, we'll stop bugging you. I told you I'd only take a few minutes. We very much want to set up this experiment. We want it to be controlled, so you can work out the details. You can work out the details with Wayne, and we'll set up a controlled experiment where we can monitor the performance of this new lubricant, and we'll see how it works.
All right. Yeah, she says, perfect, thank you. I'm going to get back to work now.
We'll see you at the meeting later.
So she goes back over to what she's doing. Wayne kind of nods at you and says, well, Mr. Gould, I should probably start heading back up.
Yep.
So, and he heads out the door and starts heading on his way. Where do you go from there? Head back to mining ops, or?
Yeah.
All right. That'll be perfect. All right. Martin DeCowd. So you're in fish processing. And you've got a couple of roughnecks trying to vacuum up spiders, while maybe some others are just using a good old fashioned broom, pushing some out the doors, trying to get rid of them. And meanwhile, Comrade Colonel Sotillo has strolled in and is I guess looking around the place. So I guess this comes to you two.
Good morning, Colonel.
Good morning, DeCote. How goes?
Well, it's kind of hairy this morning. Care to help us wield a broom?
If I must.
I wouldn't expect a colonel to get her uniform dirty with spider guts before at least noon.
You understand me, DeCote. Anything for the UPP. I kind of raised my hand on my sidearm, look him in the eyes, and say, anything.
Attaboy.
All right. This day's shaping up.
DeCowd, you get let's see here. I gotta check one thing. I apologize. That's my mistake. And okay, that's what I thought the answer was. Okay, so a roughneck comes through the door from outside. His name is John. Why not? He's one of the former 3WE colonists who has decided to stay on with UPP. You've worked with him for a while, obviously, because you've been on the colony for some time, and he sees you. He says, "Oh, Martin, thank God you're here. Do you have a minute to talk?"
Of course. You want to step outside?
If you don't mind, let's step outside.
I go with
Excuse
him.
us. Oh, okay.
All right. So Sotillo goes outside as well, and so he kind of eyes the comrade colonel a little bit, a little bit of a side eye there, and says, Martin, we have a problem, and he points, and he says, the problem is with that guy right over there. And you look and you see Wayne Arpaia as he's coming out of the LaSalle complex, and he's heading. Whoa! I just stretched Wayne out.
Oh, wow.
Poor Wayne.
This is a high gravity planet. All of a
That's
sudden.
right. It's like the scene at the end of Total Recall. But he's walking off past the LaSalle and heading out. You assume back up the. Pacing next to the conveyor, heading up towards the mine complex. So John says that guy is an issue. He's LaSalle. He works for LaSalle, and he doesn't understand. Actually, I don't think it's that he doesn't understand. It's that he doesn't care. And while you're talking, he's holding his hand over his eyes like this because it's really bright outside. The sun's at the highest point. And he says that guy Arpaia, he just doesn't care. This planet is hot, it is humid, it is bright out here. Honestly, no one should be out here in the sun without sunglasses, maybe certainly sunblock, if not PPE of some sort. And he wants these guys to work 12 hours a day and doesn't want to pay him anything. He doesn't want to let him even stop to get a drink of water or smoke a cigarette. It's absolutely ridiculous. We got to get these guys in line. These LaSalle guys just don't understand the way the world works.
So, Marty, out of character, has there been safety problems leading up to this? Have guys gotten ill or injured because of these working conditions up until now?
Not specifically, no. There's been an amount of grumbling. I mean, even back when it was a 3WE colony, there was grumbling, and of course the grumbling got louder and louder until it switched over UPP. Everything had been relatively calm. No one was really rocking the boat a whole lot in either direction. Up until recently, a little bit of disgruntlement has occurred.
All right. Well, John, I definitely hear you, and your complaints are not falling on deaf ears. I've got a meeting later this afternoon with Chief Gould. We'll sit down and we'll try to hash this out. If we have to, if things get really bad, we can always file an official grievance. But let's try to, I've always tried to handle things at the table with a handshake, and things have been pretty smooth up until now. So let's try to keep it that way, and tell the guys I'm on it.
This is all right. I appreciate that. I will pass that on. We will. This is why I came to you. This is why when the UPP came in, Nostromo and UPP picked you for representing us, because we trust you. We know you're going to do the right thing. So I appreciate that. Let me head back that way and make sure that this Arpaia guy doesn't create any more trouble for the guys. Okay.
All right. Thanks, John. Appreciate it.
All right. So he goes heading off. And I'm actually just going to drop his icon back in fish processing because there's still guys in there working.
What's the status in there? Are we have the bugs out at least?
You're getting there.
All right.
You're getting there. It's a lot of bugs, and they move fast. These spiders have an almost preternatural response to threat. if you run across one by itself and you go to step on them, half the time they jump out of the way right before you're able to squish them. So
That's super gross.
all right, DeCoud and Sotillo, you're out there.
I look at him and I just ask, problems?
Oh, the usual.
That's
Nothing we can't handle, you know.
Well,
Close combat versus mobility roll.
if there is anything that I can help with, let me know. We need to get the productivity of this mine up and running, but we should not break the roughnecks either.
I completely agree with that. Hey, have you heard anything about this food shipment? I'm getting a little bit concerned that fish processing is going to be shut down for a little while.
Nothing in my documentation or reports for this morning. I guess that's why we're here for a meeting, among other things.
I don't suppose if we got really desperate that you could use your military connections to get food brought in here, huh?
It is an option.
Well, that's good to know. Because I wouldn't really enjoy barbecued spiders for the next 2.5 weeks.
I've eaten worse.
Of course she has. Of course she has.
I'm not drunk enough for that yet.
There is, right after you say that, there is a loud bang and a crash of metal from the direction of the vehicle depot.
Oh, shit.
The vehicle depot, just so you're aware, on the western and eastern side, those are two giant bay doors that the vehicles drive in and out of. And then the doors that are on the north and southern part of it are just standard standard colony metal doors, motorized doors, for a person, not a vehicle. But there's a loud crash of metal from right inside there. So.
Well, Martin will haul ass.
All right.
Which door did the guys use? Probably this man door over here?
Yeah, the closest one. Yep.
Okay.
All right. Sotillo, what do you do?
I will follow, more out of curiosity than anything else.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So you hit the controls of the door and you pop inside, and there are a couple of roughnecks there. The guy that you sent off with the still, and then there was another one there. That was. It looks like he was in one. In addition to the Daihotai tractors, the vehicle depot has 2 power loaders in it, and it looks like he was in one of the power loaders. And you can't tell exactly what happened, except that he fell backwards, partially landed on one of the Daihotai tractors, but then came right down on the leg of the guy that you sent to move the still.
Jesus Christ.
So yeah, he's laying there. He's got this big. I mean, obviously, because you've seen the movies, you know what the power loaders are. The big, heavy metal suits that pick things up. And he's laying there. He's got his hands around his thigh from the knee down. It's underneath the power loader, and he's screaming. He's yelling, "Oh Jesus God, get it off! Oh my God!" And the guy who's in the power loader, he's just trying to get out of the power loader. He doesn't look hurt, but he's on his back. And he's trying to get unstrapped and get out of the thing.
So out of character, what's the medical? It looks like we have a technician in the medical bay. I don't know. I don't remember what you said his name was.
I may not have said, and that's okay. My fault. But that is Christopher LaCrosse.
Christopher LaCrosse.
Right. Christopher is he's actually was actually a 3WE citizen. He is a he's basically the equivalent of like an RN. He's not actually a doctor, but when the UPP was taking over, as part of the agreement was that anyone 3WE who did not want to stay on colony could leave, could get exported off safely, and that unfortunately included the entire medical staff. And Christopher LaCrosse, he, every one of them was like, oh hell no, we're not staying to be doctors under UPP. So they all bolted. LaCrosse, he couldn't do it. He's a true believer in what he does, and he just could not leave the colony without any medical support whatsoever. As a side note, it's not unknown that he doesn't care for UPP as a general rule. He kind of has a problem with the colonel. He's kind of anti-military and doesn't really like the UPP as a whole. That being said, being the only medical staff in the whole colony, he can kind of get away with having those opinions without getting into any real trouble, if that makes sense.
Is there who's standing by? Are there any roughnecks standing by?
Yeah. I mean, there's going to be a couple guys in here, absolutely. Right. So they're probably rushing over at about the same time you arrive.
Well, I'll point to one and tell him to go get Doc LaCrosse right now. And when you're done with that, tell what's Charles's? Tell Chief Gould that we have a situation here. And then move in to assess the damage to this dude's leg.
Okay. Yeah, it's pretty bad. So that roughneck goes running off. It's pretty bad. You guys got to get this thing off him and get him into to medical. I would say that just a quick retcon. I would say there's probably an intercom in the a comm system in the vehicle depot that connects. So he probably hits it and says, LaCrosse, Christopher LaCrosse, come in. Now, Nostromo, real quick, I saw that you were moving around. Did you go down into medical?
Yeah, I was poking around to see what was there. Good morning to LaCrosse.
Yeah, he's there probably sitting behind a counter reading something on a terminal. He glances up when you come in, and he nods, gives you a curt good morning, Intendant. The medical bay is a pretty large room overall. It's a good 20 plus meters wide and at least twice that long. There's a number of emergent areas, as well as several what you would probably term ICU beds that have curtains to provide some degree of privacy. Medical does have an auto dock system, but LaCrosse doesn't know how to use it. He wasn't trained in that before everyone vamoosed. So he nods curtly at you. Good morning, Intendant.
Good morning. LaCrosse, this is ancient history, as they say, but when the revolutionaries first took over Cuba, they established free medical education for all residents who wanted it. I can put in the word back up, It'll be a while before we have someone who can rotate out, but if you ever wanted to pursue a more advanced education, you could always, go along to get along with the party.
He kind of nods slowly, and he said, well, Intendant, I did not know that about Cuba. I'll keep that in mind. Meanwhile, could I ask you a question?
Sure.
What's the status on? Are we due to get this supply arrival today?
Unfortunately, not.
He sighs and he kind of leans back in his chair. Okay, what's the story now?
The story is that we have a delay looking at about 2 weeks.
He says, all right, I just want to inform you that we are running low on certain supplies,
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 basic med kits left, and we are out of a number of things, including Naproleve, which, as you know, is an important painkiller.
It also resets our panic dice.
Marty has to get it in there sooner rather than later. We're all running around nap relief.
I would say, what do you think? Do you think DeKalb takes a point of stress for seeing one of his roughneck guys pinned under this thing?
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, that's bothering him. What about you, Sotillo? Is that something that really bothers Sotillo?
Not really. I mean, she's seen worse. She's concerned, but not stressed.
Okay. All right. All right. And then just then, a roughneck's voice comes over the colony-wide intercom, asking for Lacrosse. Lacrosse kind of looks at you, Nostromo, and says, "Well, this can't be good." And
Was this request, if it was over the intercom, is it heard all around the facility on the intercom?
yeah, I would say it's a
Sort of like a
colony-wide
page?
intercom. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right. I'm going to head over to the vehicle depot to see what's going on.
All right. So, the message comes across that we've got someone injured in the vehicle depot. It looks like a power loader has fallen on one of the Roughneck's legs, so they're requesting medical attention right away. So, Lacrosse he grabs a med kit and says, "Okay, well, I guess I'm headed over there." And he pops out this door, starts running down the hallway, and yada yada. Are you following Nostromo or?
Yeah, I'll keep pace with him.
Yeah. All
I
right.
keep pace with him and just say I better get an update on the situation.
Yep. So Lacrosse comes running up to DeKalb and Nostromo just as one of the other Roughnecks has gotten into the other power loader and has he's got the claw arms working and everything, and he is coming up, getting ready to lift the power loader up off the guy's leg. Lacrosse runs in and says, "Stop! Do not lift that up." And the roughneck underneath, he's yelling, goes, "This is killing me! Get it off! Get it off!" And Lacrosse says again, "Don't lift that up. Let me check him out first."
All right, we'll make sure that the guys stop lifting.
All right. So Lacrosse is going to make a medical aid check. Wow! Look at the successes. Wow. Look at the big brain on. Look at the big brain on Chris.
Pretty good for a medic.
That's right. So he kneels down and he looks at the guy and goes, "I know you're in a lot of pain. I'm sorry. This may hurt." And he's reaching down up underneath and he's poking around, he's prodding. He says, "All right, so his the kneecap looks like it's shattered. I think we've got multiple broken bones here. I don't see any indication that we've got a femoral artery or anything along those lines. I think we're going to be okay to go ahead. All right, go ahead and lift him slowly. Mr. DeKalb, I'm going to need your help. Help me out here. As soon as he gets that lifted up, we've got to get this gentleman out from under this thing. And then we're going to have to get him over to medical. But he goes, "I don't have any pain. I don't have anything to help this guy with the pain whatsoever. I don't know what I'm going to do about that." So
well, we might be able to rustle up a stiff drink, but that's the end of it.
All right. So the roughneck makes a heavy machinery roll and drops the thing right back on the guy's leg. No. Oh shit.
Well, actually, if you'll allow,
yes, please.
One of Marty's talents is true grit. Martin's talents, his true grit, that he can push strength rolls twice.
Yeah, you're
So
Marty. I'm
maybe
Marty and he's Marty, but you're Marty.
right. I was gonna say, yeah. So we'll go with
Yeah, why don't you make the heavy machinery roll then?
yeah,
And
he might be in a
gain
good
a plus
position.
2 for, because there's all kinds of people around to help, right? So gain a 2
yeah, I
modifier for
presume.
that. Two successes. Perfectly well done. You have a stunt, so you can work in half the time. You can do it quietly. You can gain a bonus die on a future roll.
Yeah, he'll just take the bonus die, or make. I guess in role playing terms, he'll use the stunt to make sure that the injured man gets out without making his injury any worse.
Perfect. All right, perfect. And meanwhile, Lacrosse. Well, this guy's just moaning in agony. His leg's pretty well mangled. I mean, it's from the knee down, it's practically crushed. DeCowd questions. Or not DeCowd. I'm sorry, you're DeCowd. Lacrosse is questioning whether or not. He's not saying it too loudly, but he kind of stands up and whispers. He stabilizes the leg, and he kind of stands up and he whispers in your ear. He goes, "I'm not sure if we can save this guy's leg. Honestly, this is bad. But we got to figure something out for his pain. But let's get him back to medical." So,
all right, Martin will. Was it John he was talking to earlier to get the still out of there?
Yeah.
He'll make the high sign to go get him something from the hooch locker, and he will, as they're getting the injured man out, he will approach Chief Gould.
All right. So that'll put Lacrosse headed back this way to medical. All right.
So who's taken the injured man back?
Lacrosse with a couple of the roughnecks.
Right, okay.
Well, this is shaping up, boss. Starting off is quite a hell of a day.
Indeed.
Yeah. What happened?
I don't know. I wasn't here, but the colonel and I heard the crash. We came to investigate and saw it pretty much the way you did. I think Bill's lucky to be alive. I mean, if that had fallen on his midsection, or he could be dead right now. Obviously, Martin's a little shook up.
I agree. I'm just a little surprised because we do all of our safety briefings. We've got to run a very safe ship because we don't have medical staff. We are a colony. We don't have direct help. We're all responsible to take care of each other here. So let's get the man taken care of first and foremost as best we can. That leg looked pretty bad to me.
We're going to need to get something for his pain.
Yeah, but if that leg has to be amputated, I don't know how that's done. We don't have a doctor. So anyway, we've got some things to figure out.
Well, we do have an auto doc, although I do know that Chris is not as well versed in it as he should be.
Yeah.
Joe, is there a chance we could get somebody off colony to come in?
I can put him in the call right away.
Better tell him to start reading that order doc manual.
Well, maybe we should check around and see who our Comtech experts might be. A Comtech expert can figure out how to get the thing working. And the whole, the term is auto doc.
Do we have any? We could also put him in cryo, just while we sustained it and figured out our other options. If we have a cryopod available, unless they were all dismantled. Does anyone know?
You do not have a cryopod available.
Rats. Or should I say spiders? Okay, well, first things first, we'll have to get an update from from LaSalle on what he thinks is necessary.
Lacrosse.
We have, I mean, lacrosse. We have some other things to talk about, but we need to do that. The other thing I do is start checking your folks, see if anybody has Comtech skills that might be able to, with. I'm sure LaSalle has seen someone operate the auto. I mean, lacrosse has seen somebody operate the auto dock before. Maybe with their help, somebody who can who's good with computers and stuff can get this thing to work. I gotta believe that once we get the thing running and doing diagnostics, it'll do its thing. Let me. I'm gonna head back to the lab to see if the doctor or if Ms. Dussault have any skills in this area. You check some of the other folks.
Well, Chief, before you go,
Yeah.
I just want to fill you in on the fish processing situation. Most of the spiders are cleaned up, but it doesn't look good for supplies that were being processed overnight. We may have lost everything.
So we might have lost that food supply. Okay, well, what about we've got a supply ship coming in the next day or so, right?
Not soon enough, unfortunately. We just received the word of a delay.
Man, that seems to be more and more common. Okay. We've got some... wow. So we're going to need someone to take stock of what we've got left in MREs and what's available.
I'll do it.
Okay, so if you check and see what we've got available in MREs, how many days we've got there, an assessment of when we can get the fish processing back up would be good. Meanwhile, or most importantly, let's see if we can get this man some help.
Yep.
When it comes to fish processing, we'll have to tear down this equipment and sanitize everything before we can get it back up and running.
I understand.
It probably won't be up until tomorrow.
Okay.
That's if we can get some help overnight.
So we've lost whatever was in production plus a day of production. So we've lost a few days of food.
And there was a little bit that was waiting to get moved into storage that's lost too. So it's probably 3 or 4 days total.
And just quick clarification. I wasn't on scene when the accident happened. Did that fall on him with someone else, or was that his own?
No, you're not sure at this point what happened. There was someone running the power loader, and it looked like that he had fallen up against one of the tractors and landed on the guy's leg. In fact, if the tractor hadn't have been there, the power loader probably would have crushed the guy completely. It was just for virtue of the guy half landing on the tractor that prevented the power loader from completely crushing the other guy.
Martin, when you get a chance, could you debrief the operator of the power loader, see what was going on?
For sure.
We can get a root cause on this accident.
Yeah, I'll do a full write-up and make sure that all the paperwork is done.
Yeah, I know I don't want to hit this too hard, but I know there's a still somewhere in the facility. Let's make sure that the operator was not impaired.
Mm-hmm.
I'll look into that too.
Okay, I understand people need to blow off steam, but we can't have people operating equipment at the same time.
Worst case, I vote we use the still to make some bug juice.
Well,
I mean, depending on how bad things are.
Bug juice?
Might be necessary.
We'll call it bug juice. But gotta get a use of these spiders somehow. And I gestured to probably the 3 ambient spiders on the wall.
Yeah.
You mean you want to try to distill the spiders down based on the doc's research for like painkiller use?
I haven't heard of that. I haven't received a report. We have a painkiller on planet?
It's under production. So I'll talk to the doc and see where we are on that. when I'm going to go and see what kind of
Well, hopefully,
contact skills they have. Maybe they've got something for us.
hopefully she produces something because LaSalle has her here, and so far she hasn't been the most productive worker in the facility. I want to see what she can give, especially to help maintain this facility and maintain our workers.
Well, meanwhile, the best safety equipment is a safe worker. So let's get this handled, and then we should plan on doing another safety stand down with the workers and explain the importance of safety. We only have ourselves to rely on. We've got to keep each other safe.
Mm-hmm. I'm
This
gonna
is,
go do
this is sad that this happened, and we've got things piling up not our way. The cow will talk later about some of the issues we have with personnel, but right now we got to deal with this.
Okay. Back
All
to
right.
work.
Thanks for the inputs, everybody. This is let's work the problem. All right, I'm gonna head towards the lab so I can talk to Toussaint and the doctor.
All right.
I'm going to go to fish processing and then storage and just do an assessment of our food stock.
All right. All right. Very good. So Tio, what are you up to?
I will just follow Fidanza around and list a opinion or two as required.
Okay. All
I
right.
will also offer him, but not directly to Gold, the use of my Marines to clean up the processing plant if needed.
That would be extremely helpful.
I'm not. By the way, I'm not wasting any time. I'm running pretty fast. I just want to do a quick check with the doctor.
Okay. With Dr. Monahan up in the labs.
Yeah, because I've got significant context skills myself. I just need to check and see if there's anyone more qualified than I might be to try and hack this thing.
Gotcha. So the fish processing is coming. The cleanup is coming along pretty well. At this point, one of the roughnecks standing there he kind of looks around and says, "No, I think we've got most of this under control. There's probably a few dozen of these little furry bastards in here, but we're getting them out. We're about to the point where." We're gonna have to break all this crap down. Everything's got to be cleaned. We're getting to that, but that's and he's kind of looking around. There's a lot going on here. That's gonna take a while, but we're about to that point now.
Well, the colonel said we could use her guys if you need more hands on deck. So let me know if you need more help.
Yeah, I'll look at that. We probably could have used them a little more this morning, but on the other hand, in the time it takes me to train them on how to take apart some of this machinery, we could do it ourselves. So I don't know. I'll think about that. But it looks like we weren't. Well, put it to you this way: it looks like we probably lost 3 full days of food. I got a container of stuff over there that I think is okay-ish. The number of spiders we extricated from container 17 was minimal, so I think we could probably go ahead and eat that if we're okay with it. But it looks like we lost 3 days of food.
Let's mark that container and put it off to the side with the others. If we get desperate enough, we'll be glad to have it, but
No, I don't know. You ever had a chocolate bar?
mm-hmm.
They get like 4 spider legs per bar. It comes with the territory.
I just don't know about these alien spiders, Joe. They make me a little nervous. I mean, I don't know. Are they safe?
Well, let me think about it for a second. I'll eat the suspicious food. You can throw it into my I'll do it. Lead by example.
All right, you'll eat it, and we'll wait a full day and see if if you haven't sprouted a second head.
Hey, 2 heads are better than
Extra
1.
legs.
Anything that helps me be more productive.
I like it. All right, and then DeCoud, also, did you want to talk to the roughneck that was involved in the accident?
Yeah, and witnesses and do all the paperwork and kind of try to figure out what happened and if there was horseplay or drinking or whatever.
No, it's all pretty straightforward. The guy who was in the power loader said that he hadn't had anything to drink. He didn't realize that the still was even being moved into the depot. He was connecting one of the expandable fishing net systems to one of the tractors so that somebody could take it out, because they figured that we were going to need to run the tractors out in the bay pretty regularly due to whatever food might have been lost in processing. So he was getting that set up, and then he doesn't know what happened. It was like one of the hydraulic lifters in the leg just stopped working as he was backing up, and the thing just toppled over and fell.
Who's our best maintenance guy?
Well, you're probably a pretty good one.
All right, then I do have heavy machinery of 3.
Yeah, were you thinking that you wanted to check out the loader? Is that the idea?
Yeah, just check out the leg to see if this is a failure, and if it's a failure,
make a
what
heavy
caused
machinery
it.
roll.
Okay.
Okay, that's a success. Looks like one of the oil lines leading to the leg split, and it wasn't receiving oil. With lack of lubrication, it locked up, and
Okay.
when he went to back up and it didn't move the way it was supposed to, it just lost balance and fell. Seems to be pretty straightforward.
Is this just like it just got old, kind of a thing?
Yeah, it's just a mechanical failure.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's these power loaders have been here. The colony's 3 years old. So they've been here at least in that amount of time, subjected to heavier levels of salt in the air, the excess heat and humidity of the area, and it just looks like a mechanical failure.
I imagine we don't get a lot of spare parts around here anyway, probably.
No. In fact, I think Gold and Arpaia just had that conversation a couple hours ago.
Right. All right. Well, I'll make sure to prepare, the accident report and gather the witness names and all of their statements and whatever the injured guy. I think I called him Billy before because I didn't know his name. If you don't mind, I'll just stick with that.
I'm good.
Whatever he's going to need next. I don't know what the SOP is in the manual, the labor manual, but I'll just make sure to go down all the checkpoints.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's taken care of.
Absolutely. So Gould, you went running over to LaSalle Labs. Of course, you don't. You get into the vestibule and you can't access the door.
Right.
Yeah. So you hit the intercom, I assume.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I say, I just say, we've got an emergency. Please open up. I need to ask a couple questions.
So the door buzzes and opens, and Toussaint is headed your way. Monaghan is she's still leaning over something, working on something. She kind of calls out as you enter. She kind of calls out, "What is it, Mr. Gould?"
Well, somebody's been hurt pretty badly, and I think we're going to have to use the auto dock, but we don't have any medical staff. We only have the one medic, Lacrosse, and I don't think he knows how to use it. So I'm just checking to see if you two have any comm tech skills.
She says, "Well, I am a doctor, and I am a medical doctor, and I'm pretty good with technology. If I have to stop what I'm doing here, I can certainly try to help.
Yeah, we need your help. If you're the medical doctor, can you come and help us? A man's leg has been crushed.
She kind of looks up at you from what she's doing, and she says, "That's how did that happen?"
Long story. Looks like there was an accident in the vehicle depot. They happen. We're getting the details. I don't know all the details yet.
All right. She looks over at Nisa and says, and she points to something on a counter. She says, "Nisa, is that ready?" She says, "Well, doctor, I've checked it. I've double checked it. It's concentrated. It should work as a painkiller. We have to test it." She said, "Well, there may be no time like the present." She grabs a small vial of a greenish blackish fluid, holds it up and says, "Spider venom. Might be able to use it." She says, "All right, let's go."
Okay, let's go, but proceed with caution with the spider venom. But if you need any help with the auto doc, I can give you some aid. Let's go.
All right, so you guys hoof it over to medical.
Quickly, yeah.
Quickly. Nisa stays there and continues to work. DeKalb, you're doing your stuff. Yeah, so you make it to medical while all that other conversation with the other characters is going on. Let me roll Mr. LaCrosse's NPC, Christopher LaCrosse. There he is. I found that when I have multiple NPCs, that if I make the character's name NPC dash their name, it's a little bit easier for me to find the characters. All right, so he's got this guy. He's got this guy in one of the on one of the emergent gurneys, and he's looking over the leg, and he sees you and Monahan come in, and he seems somewhat relieved, but as he looks at the two of you, he says, "We might need to get DeKalb or even Intendant Fidanza in on this. We've got a decision we have to make here." He kind of motions to the side, and he walks off to the side a little bit out of hearing from this guy who's currently on the table. He says, I think the leg's got to go. He's never going to be able to use this leg again. I'm very, very concerned about further damage. Maybe a nicked artery up in the leg. I'm not sure, but I just don't see that we can save this.
Well, I'll let the doctor answer. The doctor, you're a medical doctor. You'll have the expertise to determine what should be done. But would that be something done by the auto doc?
Monahan takes a look at this guy, and he's still fully conscious, and he's in a lot of pain. He is not in a happy place by any means. Monahan looks it over and comes back and says that we should probably get him in the auto doc. That would be the best way to handle a surgery of this type. She says, I should be able to program it, maybe with a little bit of help. But before we do this, he's a UPP citizen. He's not a LaSalle employee. I think we need to. I think Mr. LaCrosse is right that we need to have some discussion before we do this.
Well, I'm in agreement. I don't care who anyone works for. We should do the right thing for the patient. their safety and health come first. So let's, if it's not going to cause a problem, to wait just a few minutes for them to show up, let's call them. So I'm going to go over to the intercom, and I'm going to state over to the intercom. Would Intendant Fidanza and Comrade DeCoud please come to medical immediately?
All right, so you two hear that call come out. You head off that way?
Time to move.
Yeah. All right, so your fastest way is probably through the galley and then this way. What are you up to, Sotillo?
I will move with Fidanza.
All right, so you're all together. One big happy family. All right, so you guys, the three of you make it to medical, and you see Monahan as well as Gould there, and then Lacrosse. Monahan, as you all come together, Monahan confirms that we probably need to amputate his leg from just above the knee down. The autodoc can probably. I'm a doctor, but I'm not a surgeon, and Lacrosse is not a doctor either. The autodoc is probably the best solution. She holds up a vial. This is a. I'm just going to call it what it is. This is a test serum. We've refined this from the spider venom. It should make a decent. Anesthetic for lack of. Lacrosse tells me we don't have any nap relief. I can't. It hasn't been tested, but everything says it should be safe.
Well, isn't that Billy's decision, Doc?
It certainly can be. He's a UPP citizen. I didn't know how you UPP folks work, if that is his decision or if it...
It is his decision, but I think I should talk to him first. Just make sure he's informed about the stakes.
Yeah, and obviously, the pain that he's going through is going to influence his decision dramatically. So, try and be as objective as you can with his response.
I know, but that's why we have available healthcare, and we don't have to play dance around insurance. We have to make a decision on something while in incredible pain.
Jesse's killing it this morning.
That's right. That's right. Meanwhile, Monahan loads that vial into a TX9 injection gun, and she's checking it over, making sure that it looks like it's ready to go.
I'm going to lean up to Billy just to get close to him and I'll make to get his attention while he's in this pain, I can make a command roll if I have to.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll treat it almost as if he's in a panic. So yeah, you can make a command roll, absolutely. Oh my god!
Wow.
Get down to his level and get his attention, and then I just very distinctly say, "We are going to have to amputate the leg. There's nothing we can do to save it. I can give you an experimental painkiller that, if it works, will solve part of our supply issues, and you'll do your country a service, or we can give you nothing, and we can try it that way. Do you want the painkiller?"
Obviously you get his attention. He seems to loosen up a little bit from the pain. He says, "Well, they gave me a shot of something from the still, and it's not doing anything." He goes, I can't imagine what that's going to feel like without it. I'll take the chance. I'll take the chance.
We're proud of you.
He just kind of nods and he goes back to kind of clenching his eyes shut. Monahan looks at you, shrugs, and just kind of holds up the injection gun.
All right, I'm going to look at Monahan and just ask her flat out, what kind of protocols are you going to put in place to monitor and study the effects of this?
Well, this is a medical bay. We've got all of the equipment here. It'll be very important for LaCrosse to check his vitals pretty consistently. I would like his vitals checked honestly I would like to have his blood pressure and pulse checked no less than every 30 to 60 seconds for the first 10 minutes, and then perhaps we can increase the intervals to a longer time period from there. But we need to make sure, that this is something that we haven't tried before. So you're right. We need to make sure that we're keeping a close eye. She looks over at LaCrosse and says, "Surely you still have some supplies here, adrenaline shots, anything along those lines." LaCrosse opens a cabinet and says, "I have one medical kit left." So yes, that has some of that basic equipment in it.
Okay, so my main concern, we're going to set up kind of an experiment with the lubricants at the mine. Now, I'm a techno geek and I'm not a doctor. So, but if we're going to set up an experiment with the lubricants on the mine and we're going to keep close journals of how that's working, I'd feel better if you opened up a journal and you took command of this patient long term and monitored any of the effects and documented the effects. You'd have to do that anyway if you were doing a controlled experiment.
Absolutely.
And you want this information to prove the efficacy of this approach. So we will have to document this as an emergency use of an untested substance. I'm not disagreeing that we should do it. I can't imagine what the pain would be like if the auto doc amputated his leg with no anesthesia. I can't imagine what it would be like, the American Civil War stuff. Let's get on with it.
Yeah. So she walks over and puts the injection gun up to his arm, and you hear a hissing sound as it injects the whatever the liquid is in the vial through his skin into his arm. It's within seconds. The tension in this guy's body starts to dissipate, and he starts to relax quite a bit. LaCrosse is on his other arm, monitoring blood pressure, that type of thing. She kind of leans over. "Billy, you're still with us, right?" And he sounds a little drunk. He's slurring his words a little bit. He goes, "Yeah, I'm this is much better." She says, "How much pain are you in from a 1 to 10?" He goes, It's like a 3. No, maybe it's a 2. It's getting better." She says, "Okay, I need you to stay awake, okay, for the time being. I don't want you falling asleep." He goes, "No, I'm okay. I'm all right. I'll be all right." She kind of
good.
She kind of looks up and says, "Well, get some help. Let's get him in the auto dock."
All right, Martin will take one of his arms and sit him up and start to get him transferred over.
All right. So the auto dock is it's kind of a device built into the wall, and she walks over to it and she opens the door. It comes down, bzzz, and a big panel comes out. She goes, "Okay, get him up on here, and let's get him lying down." as she says to him, she says, "Now, Billy, the auto doc is going to put some restraints on you. You can't move." And he was like, "It's okay. I'll be right here. I'm not going anywhere." Yeah, he seems like he's really out of his gourd a little bit, but he's conscious. He's talking. She says, "All right, Mr. Gould, can I get your assistance in programming this, please?"
Certainly.
All right. So with the two of you, I grabbed the wrong character. There we go. So I'm going to make a Comtech roll for her I'm going to give her a bonus for your assistance. Perfect. What should she do with her stunt? Should she do it in half the time or just gain a +1 die later to another Comtech roll?
Boy, that's a good question, but
Well, time's
I
not
think
really an issue, right now.
if time's not an issue, I would say she needs to save it.
Okay. All right. So between the two of you, you guys are punching across the terminal on this thing. Her medical knowledge, and she's no slouch with electronics either. Clearly, she knows what she's working on. With a little assistance from you, in the space of 5 or 7 minutes, you guys get this thing programmed to do the job, and she says one last time in the intercom into the auto dock, "Okay, Billy, you're good to go on this, right?" And Billy just kind of nods. He goes, "Yeah." She looks over at Nostromo. Her fingers kind of hovering over the button that says begin, or activate, execute, something along those lines.
I nod. Yeah.
All right. She hits the button and it starts to go to work. She says, "All right, this is going to take some time." And there's the autodoc's doing different things. Different arms are coming down. It's spraying an antiseptic. It's cut off the clothes. It's spraying an antiseptic. It's starting to do its thing. She says, "Lacrosse, you shouldn't have any problem with this, but please monitor his vitals. Let us know if we have any problems whatsoever." He says, "You got it, Doctor. Keep an eye on it."
Dr. Monaghan, you're the one who developed that anesthetic, right?
Yes, I did.
So I'm known for telling stories of yesteryear, but I wanted to let you know that when we first started going into space, those Americans, they spent $3 million making a pen that could write upside down. Do you know what the old Soviets used?
Pencil.
A pencil. Yes. Which comrade cut in? Oh, Charles, maybe I'll keep that in mind. But they used a pencil, Doctor, and I feel like we've just found ours.
She nods and says, I hope so. This could certainly solve some of our issues in the short term, and it might give LaSalle a good proprietary option to put on the market against Naproleve. Naproleve has some ill effects if you use it too much, and maybe this won't. We're going to need some time to study, but this could be good for LaSalle. Oh, and of course, UPP. The colony gets its cut, to be sure, but we're some time away from marketability and commercial success, obviously. But this could work for us.
If it's a fraction as addictive as Naproleve, we shouldn't have any issue. We'd just be running into conflict from the Sacklers, but you'll always have a good buyer in the UPP, I think.
She says there are a lot of people in the UPP, so that it could be of advantage. We'll have to see. We'll have to keep an eye on it, and obviously there's more testing and plenty of trials and experiments to be done. She kind of looks down at her watch and it's at this point it's probably just after noon, in terms of Earth Standard Time, which, as a side note, means that the sun is probably just going down outside. So the temperature's coming down. Of course, you guys are all in medical, but just describing the conditions. Temperature's coming down. The bright sunlight, harsh sunlight, is gone, and instead it's going to be kind of dusky outside, kind of a dark, soft blue light that reflects off the gas giant that this moon's in orbit around. But it's certainly getting more comfortable.
Okay, well, I'm just taking up space in here, so let me make room. LaSalle, Lacrosse, you'll let us know. You'll let us know if anything happens unexpected. We'll check in on progress. Martin, do you have any time now?
Sure.
Let's take a walk back to your place. His office is right off this command building, right?
That's actually Nostromo's office.
That's Nostromo's office.
Yeah.
Whose office is closer? Let's just meander someplace where we can talk.
All right, that's fine. You know what, Martin? Where is your office? I don't think I made a spot for that on the map. So where would Martin DeCowd's office be?
Well, I don't know that he has one, right? Like, maybe maybe he's made a makeshift office in this empty storage at the bottom left.
Down in the corner?
Yeah.
Yeah, so either way, you guys could head up to Gould's office in LaSalle Mining, or you can cut through Habitation.
6 of one, half dozen of the other.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to Martin's office.
All right. So that'll pop you guys down there, right? Where's Gould? There's Gould. What's that one? When the icons are tiny, Gould and Nostromo look a little bit alike. All right, so you guys are heading down there to talk. So Tio, what do you want to do? Or I should say all NCTU and Nostromo, what do you guys want to do? Monaham's probably going to hang here and continue to monitor, I imagine.
Monahan, please give me an update. I have to go prep for the meeting of today. I need to do my final calculations on if we go to half rationing, how much is who gets what.
She kind of glances over half rationing. What's going on? I hadn't heard of this.
Food storage issues. Don't worry. I think it might not affect all of us the same. I certainly could use to lose a few pounds myself.
She just kind of nods and says, "Well, all right, keep me informed. I guess we'll be meeting in a few hours, so I'll see you then. And if there's any change here, we'll be sure to let you know."
Mm-hmm. Please, I would like to issue a report about this sooner rather than later.
All right. Yeah. The if you take one last glance at the auto dock as you leave and head back to your office, it's starting to do some things. There's a high power surgical laser that's out and doing some cutting. There's some other implements that are in position to do some stuff that maybe you don't want to dwell on too much. That's up to you. All right, Colonel Sotillo, what would you like to do?
I will head back to the barracks and recall all the Marines, I suppose.
Okay.
And I will tell them to go through the military rations and take stock of those, since we might be rationing, and just be available with a report, and place a guard on the rations, and then also have another Marine go to the doctor, and I'll basically send a note saying, since it's an unknown analgesic or whatever you call it, that she is testing. The Marine will just be there for her security. But
Okay.
everybody knows he's just there to make sure that she doesn't do anything dodgy and unscrupulous.
Yeah. All right. That absolutely works.
And then I'll just meet up with the Dunzo again.
Okay. All right. So let's see about this conversation down between Charles Gould and Martin DeCowd.
Okay. Martin, all right, I'm going to jump out of character for a second. Rather than go through all the details again, he can inform me what his he can just inform me what his findings were from the investigation.
From the accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so it just sounds like it's an accident, one of those things. So an oil line had split and leaked oil. Could it be that we're not keeping up with our maintenance, or is it just that this stuff's old?
I think it's a combination. I mean, if we had all the parts that we need, yeah, this would have never happened. But it's also true that conditions here are not favorable for long-term use of the equipment, and it does deteriorate faster. So unfortunately, in this particular case, there's really not much that we could have done to stop it from happening, I don't think. If there's any good news, it's that the guys were doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing. And if the operator hadn't been on the ball and managed to use the tractor to take up half the weight of the loader, Billy would probably be dead right now.
Okay. Well, it's not a hydraulic line. Those are high-pressure steel cables. It's just an oil supply line. Was the oil supply line, was it metal or was it neoprene?
Oh, that was a good question. It was neoprene.
So, yeah, it would be susceptible to break down over time. Did you notice when you looked at it? Did it just look like a split, or did it look? Did it look like? Well, you know how. At least I'm on Earth. I've lost a lot of insulation on lines and on electrical lines, and I've lost neoprene rubber hoses from animals chewing on them and stuff. Did it look like we had anything like that? Could you tell when you looked at it?
Yeah, I think I could have told the difference. I mean, it just looked like the neoprene got brittle.
Okay. Okay, well, I guess we'll just have to double down on inspections and maintenance so we can avoid this in the future.
We should definitely get some of the, at least the other loader and possibly the tractors, get them up for maintenance sooner than later and make sure that we're not going to have another accident like this.
Okay, well, and in that maintenance genre area, we've got an issue out in the mine. We've got a lot of equipment that is not running nearly to the right efficiency. As you know, our output is down. We're under a lot of pressure to get the mining output up, but we can't keep driving this equipment. We've got to get spare parts. We've got to make sure we're getting a good flow of spare parts and lubricants. And frankly, we're short on lubricants. So I just wanted to let you know one of the things the doc was working on was a new organic lubricant. So we're going to try this organic lubricant on one of the lines to see how well it does. So I just wanted to give you that update, and we'll be monitoring how that does. And got to get the output of the line up. And in that vein, I know there's some friction between Wayne and the guys. We don't have that much issue with the with our folks, but some of the colony workers are not happy with how hard they're being pushed to perform. Now, I don't want to get into who shot John here and who thinks who's pushing whom or who's being unfair or not, whether the workers are working hard enough or not. I don't want to get into that. Right now, what I wanted to do is let you know that the complaints seem to stem largely around being pushed to work hard during the hot parts of the day. So we're going to make a move, and I want you to smooth it over with your guys. Make sure no one's there's no one's being called out here, or this isn't any kind of punishment. They actually should see the reverse. What we're going to try and do is we're going to try and move as many colony workers as possible to the night shift where it's cooler and they're not under as much heat stress, and they're under better conditions. And we're going to let our LaSalle guys work the day shift. I think they're more used to it. They're more used to the pace. And so that's what we're going to try and do. We'll have one LaSalle supervisor on the night shift, but I think that might be a solution. If your folks are really saying they're being pushed too hard because of the conditions, then let's move them to easier conditions. Because what I'd like to do is get the right balance and get the right, and so that we can increase our output.
Well,
what do you think about that?
I've been a roughneck my whole life, and I know that roughnecks do an awful lot of bitching. I mean, that's just what roughnecks do. But one thing they don't do is shirk work. And everything that my guys are telling me points to them having a legitimate safety concern. And I don't think it matters much if it's LaSalle guys or UPP guys working the day shift. Sooner or later, there might be a problem. Evidently, and I haven't looked into it myself, but evidently it's ungodly hot in that mine. They've requested PPE, which of course isn't easy to come by. But something even as simple as a sun cream would help them. It's just they see a problem coming down the pike. And I know these guys personally, and I know that if they are speaking out to me about this, there's probably something to look into.
Okay, I'll speak with Wayne. My opinion was to keep Wayne on the day shift with the LaSalle guys, and then just have another supervisor on the night shift. Maybe it would help if you looked in on your folks on this night shift and see how they're doing. I'm really hoping that this alleviates a lot of the issues. You're right, PPE is really hard to come by. It looks like food's going to be hard to come by. We're going to have to watch that issue as well. If we're going to have to go on rations, people are not going to be happy about having their food rationed, especially how hard they work and the caloric input that they need to function. So we may have to, at least in the short term, ease our expectations on the output of the facility. Right now we're running a little slow anyway because of the problems with the conveyor system. It's probably holding everything up, so maybe that'll alleviate it. But anyway, I think that if we can do those things, we'll see how the output improves, and we'll see how everything goes. Like I said, this accident today is a terrible thing, and we can't have any more accidents. So if what you're saying is that this pressure might lead to accidents, we can't have that either. So maybe we can meet everyone halfway, and I'm hoping that moving some of the guys to the night shift where the environmental stress is less, that it'll be easier for them to do their work.
Let's hope so.
Okay, well, the only other thing that I'll mention is well, let's just see how this whole thing goes with this experimental treatment, because established norm is to have long established trials with double blinds and everything to make sure there's no adverse side effects. And we didn't have any of that. So I'd like to keep an eye on him. It just seems to me we have spider problems in the food. We've got a delayed transport. Then we have this accident. We had to use this experimental drug. It just seems like everything's happening at once.
Seems like there's a malevolent game master pulling all the strings.
Hey now, I'm your friendly neighborhood game master.
Yeah, well, Billy's gonna be a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man pretty soon, right?
Oh, man.
It's making me nervous too. Yeah, but in character, I'll definitely agree.
Okay.
With Charles, yeah. I mean, I know nobody likes these spiders, but we're putting a lot of faith in an unknown here.
Hey, maybe it's the savior everyone wants. Maybe it's not. Maybe these things are just a bunch of spiders running around, but maybe, well, they don't seem to like us, and I'm not ready to.
Billy's got a family, Chief.
Ignore them as a bunch of pain in the butt spiders that are just getting in the way.
Billy's got a family, and they count on him, even though they're not with him.
All right.
So we got to make sure he pulls through.
All right. So I just wanted to let you know we still got that meeting this afternoon. I guess we'll share a bunch of this with folks in the meeting. What time is that meeting today anyway?
Didn't you say 4?
Yeah, it's at 4 Earth Standard Time, so it's 3 hours away, give or take.
Yeah. So I look at my watch and say, well, other stuff to do, unless there's anything else we need to speak about.
No, I think we're good for now. I'll have more of a progress report on the fish processing situation. But I think we're on track for being up and running by tomorrow.
All right, good. And then we'll get some feedback. We'll get some feedback at the meeting on how we're going to pitch in to get through this delay in delivery schedule, and also now the loss of some food. I hate them. I wish I could have a steak, just one steak. I haven't had a steak in a year.
By the way, Colonel Sotillo said that she might be able to pull some strings through military channels to get us some help. You might want to talk to her about it.
Okay. Might be something to bring up in the meeting, depending on what the outcome of the inventory is on our food supplies and MREs. Okay, good. That's outstanding.
All right. So, Tio, you said after you did everything with your guys that you wanted to head back to find Nostromo?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I reasonably imagine that you would probably pop out of the UPP soldier barracks right about the time the Gould comes popping out of Martin DeCowd's office area. So if there's anything to happen there, or if you just want to move on to command, you tell me what you're doing.
Yeah, I'll just look at him a little bit disdainfully, let it catch the list, and then I will just continue walking past him.
All right.
I'll just look at her and say, Colonel.
Cool.
Can cut the tension with a knife. All right. So you end up back in command. That's where Nostromo is. Jesse sent me a message saying he'd hop off for a few minutes. So I'll just.
I'm here for just a minute. Yeah.
Okay.
So I can do this, and then
All
I just
right.
gotta hop off for a minute.
That's fine.
Yeah. Sotillo, I have a question for you.
Shoot.
Do you have any contacts that would be interested in the emergency use of that analgesiac for military operations? I mean, I know we use, I think we use a Naproliv synthetic or something similar, but if this works and we can produce it, maybe we can get extra rations that way?
I will fire off a message and see what I can dig up for us. Nothing comes to mind immediately, but I will send in some requisitions and a immediate emergency request and see what the UPP gives us.
Mm-hmm. Okay. That's good. I want to be of use to the party, but I also want to make sure that we're getting fed down here. I'm going to advocate in the meeting that we go to, we maintain the workers' rationing, but that administrative staff goes to half or no rationing for as long as necessary. Yeah, I think, don't want to be seen as the fat cats on top, as it were, and I think that the workers will appreciate it if they think we're looking out for them, even in these trying times.
Good plan. Nicely done.
I like it. Alrighty. You guys hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I just got a whole bunch of noise on my end all of a sudden, and I wasn't sure I was transmitting. It was weird. All right. So, I guess the question becomes, does anybody have anything else that we need to look at doing, or are we flash forwarding, or what's the plan here?
I don't think I have anything else until the meeting.
Yep, happy to fast forward.
Okay.
All Martin would do, and that doesn't particularly need to be handled, in real time, but he would tell John the result of his conversation with Charles Gould to let the guys know it's not a perfect solution, but they're not going to have to deal with Wade or the sunshine anymore.
All right. All right. Perfect. All right. So then we'll just time jump forward and move everyone.
Can I take 5 minutes for a bathroom break?
Yeah. Why don't we do that? That was a great idea. And hopefully he'll actually be back here any minute. So, I imagine at 4 o'clock Earth Standard Time comes around and everybody makes it to Command in Nostromo's office for the meeting. And I think that Monaghan is probably the last one to walk in. She probably walks in right at 3:59 and 30 seconds. She has a tube in her hand. Looks like something that goes in a caulk gun, frankly. And she sets that down on the table in front of her when she sits down at the conference table. Nostromo looks over at her and says, "Doctor, how is our patient? How is Billy?" She says, "Well, he's in recovery. The auto doc was successful in the surgery. Everything looks good. We don't have any excess bleeding or any other damage that it looks like we have to worry about." He says, and what about the experimental painkiller or anesthetic? She says, "Well, so far it's actually still functioning. We gave it to him almost 4 hours ago, and it's still actively relieving pain. He still has that slightly intoxicated behavior about him. I'm sure that's an issue of dosage. That's going to be something we have to determine over time. but so far it seems to be successful. He's responsive after the surgery, said he did not feel anything, even though he was conscious. He really didn't feel anything when he was in there. No pain, to be sure. Nostromo just nods and says, well, that's good. So I'm sure you're all aware at this point, we have a few... Well, it's been a day. First news I got this morning, in addition to the spiders and fish processing, is that I'm sure you're all aware that the supply ship that was supposed to come today didn't come today and isn't going to be here for at least 2 weeks. So we're going to be on our own about some things for a while.
Yeah, I had a question about that. This seems to be an issue all the time. Don't you know that if it wasn't going to arrive today, that they probably knew many days ago it wasn't going to arrive today? And they could have told us then, instead of waiting till the last second?
He kind of nods his head towards you a little bit, says, yes, I definitely see your point. We don't know if the ship had to be routed somewhere else. The UPP is dealing with a lot of United America's aggression right now, and it's just possible that our supplies were needed somewhere else, according to need. And our colony has quite a bit that's self-sufficient. We typically don't have food problems, that type of thing. Obviously, today's a little bit of a different day where that's concerned, but I think we'll get through it.
Well, if this kind of delay continues, these kind of constant interruptions in the supply continue, we're going to continuously have trouble keeping the mine operating at peak efficiency with the lack of parts and consumables. And so I just want to let you know that in my next report to my superiors at LaSalle, I'm going to explain that we're having significant supply chain issues that are affecting the output of the facility based on UPP inability to deliver. So that could lead to, I think the obvious solution is to occasionally then have LaSalle and UPP work better together in arranging deliveries directly from LaSalle ships.
Nostromo nods and he says, I think anytime we can cooperate for the betterment of everybody, I think that is a good thing. I believe you're correct. In the meantime, Mr. Gould, I'm very familiar with your personnel file, and I'm sure I can rely on you to keep things operating as smoothly and efficiently as possible until we resolve some of these issues.
Well, it's kind of a moot point now, because if we ask for help now, it would be almost the same amount of time to get relief. So it is what it is. Out of character for a second, it's like the money pit. How long will it take me? 2 weeks. Everything's 2 weeks.
I don't do mud. You need a mud guy for that. All right, how much is a mud guy? 1,000. Don't you guys know any other number? 2,000. That's Mr. Destiny.
Okay.
Sorry. Nostromo looks over at Colonel Sotillo and says, Colonel, do we suspect that this supply issue will continue? We're totally. being told that we're being delayed for 17 days. Do we expect that it should continue beyond that, or can we count on the space operating forces to deliver at that point? Bob, you there? Am I transmitting?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
I have no information. I would have to send off a communique first, but I assume that unless we have some kind of priority or emergency, we'll be somewhere in line.
He says, "That's, that's understandable. Would you please do me a favor and use your contacts within the space operating forces and do let them know that while it's not an emergent situation at this point, one more setback could put us in an emergent situation, and just make sure that they're aware that we will need our regular supply ship in the 17 days that they promised from here. I would appreciate it if you would make that contact."
Of course, I was planning to do that right after this meeting in any case.
Very good. That's perfect. So, Dr. Monahan, everything seems to be going well with your anesthesia experiment so far. We haven't seen much else from LaSalle's Science Division in the time that you've been here, but my understanding is that you're working on some sort of lubricant, an industrial lubricant of some kind. Monahan actually, she points at the tube that she's got on the desk, and she says, "Actually, yes, this is what this is for." And she picks it up and she hands it across the table over to Charles Gold.
For me? Thank you.
She says, "That's for Mr. Arpaia. That is the first round of the refined lubricant we discussed. See how that works for him. We obviously we have limited production facilities here where this is concerned, but if it looks like it's going to work, we can expand those tests and perhaps we can start to ship it off-world to LaSalle for further production. That will help the science divisions. Shoot. Sorry, my words just blew right out of my brain. That will increase the value of the science division, LaSalle Science Division, to the UPP on this colony, I believe. She says, and you can, you can kind of hear that she's not thrilled with Nostromo's implication. Nostromo, he looks around, he says, "Mr. DeCoud, is there anything further, is there anything we need to discuss in regards to the workers, any issues?" From what I understand, I looked at your report, the incident seems like it was just an accident. Could it have been prevented?
I think the only thing that could have really prevented this accident is a more regular maintenance overhaul, which is only possible if we have access to more supplies. At the current rate, we're doing everything that we can with what we have available.
All right. Further supply issues then. We are 14 parsecs away from Earth. That's no small distance, but we will make it work for the good of everybody. In the meantime, with the loss of food, it is important that we send the proper message to all the persons of this colony that while we are department heads, LaSalle executive, etc., and that while we share quite a bit of responsibility, it's important that the workers on colony understand that we are not, we do not view ourselves as more important than they are. Many of them are putting in most of the actual work, while we handle mostly administrative affairs. In the spirit of that, I think that it is important that if we have to go to half rations, or even for a short time skip rations of food for a few days, I think it is important that we as the department heads lead that and lead by example. Meanwhile, we will continue to keep the Roughnecks and the other workers on standard food supply for as long as possible.
Well, I agree with that. The people who are doing the hard labor are expending calories, and they need those calories to perform the work. Otherwise, our production will drop. Also, frankly, the reference to the movie, the Battleship Potemkin earlier, I don't know if people know, but that mutiny was promulgated based on food rationing and lack of food.
He
We
nods.
got to keep the workers happy.
He nods, and Sharif, are you there? Did we lose you?
Uh-oh.
Oh, there he is. You're muted.
Sorry, I'm here, guys. There's just stuff going on in the background, so
Oh.
I didn't want to bother you all with it, so I turned the video off.
Oh, okay. That's fine. That's fine.
And it's a little loud here at the moment, so
No problem.
Did you hear my reference?
yes.
I thought it was funny.
The food shortage.
I thought it was funny that the Battleship Potemkin movie was brought up, and the fact is the mutiny on the Potemkin was caused by food shortages.
That is does not bode well for us, does it?
Jesse,
So let's not have that.
Jesse is a well-read individual, or perhaps at least did his research. Nostromo nods and says, well, Mr. Gould, just as I was beginning to think there was some philosophical hope for you in understanding what the UPP is trying to do in the galaxy, you bring it back to good old-fashioned production, and point out that it's not for philosophical reasons, but rather for practical reasons, that we need to keep up the calorie intake of our workers.
Happy and safe workers are productive workers.
Well, that is a true statement. That is a true statement. Very well. Colonel Satillo, anything that you need to add from your side of things? Any suggestions or any concerns on a security matter?
Not at the moment, just that I will place my Marines on high alert and get them to keep their eyes open and the comlinks, available.
That very good. That should be helpful. Hopefully, we don't need them. This colony has been here for some time without any real threats, even from native wildlife. But it's nice to know that you and your men are there when we need them.
Of course.
Right about then, Charles Gould, your hand radio kind of crackles and pops on, and Wayne Arpaio's voice comes across. Says, Mr. Gould, are you come in?
Gould here.
Oh, good. We found something at the mine. There was a cavern on the ground penetrating radar that we were coming up on, and you should probably just come see it yourself. Maybe bring Dr. Monahan with you.
All right, I'm on my way.
Perfect. And Charles, we need to keep this quiet from the UPP guys as long as we can.
Yeah, well.
Which, of course, everybody in the room hears that.
That's heard it. It's on the radio.
I just give a loud cough.
All right. Well, something's going on. Let me go see what's going on. I'll uh, I'll share as soon as I know. Doctor, can you come with?
Monahan kind of looks at you and says, "Well, I suppose so. There's not much
I
else
don't
for
know
me
what
to
it
do
is.
here at the moment."
Until we see it, we don't know what it is.
I look at Nostromo for direction, but ready to go with if he requests.
Nostromo nods and he just puts it out there at the. I'm a little concerned, Mr. Gould, that your one of your LaSalle employees, in fact, I believe your right hand in your mining project, has specifically stated to keep it quiet from the UPP. So I'm going to ask that Colonel Sotillo go with you, purely as a, shall we say, purely as a security consultant and to make sure that the UPP and its concerns are represented. After all, this colony is a partnership.
And I would feel more comfortable if you yourself came rather than the military arm of the UPP. If this is a partnership, I didn't hear that there was a security issue, so I don't believe there is a need for armed representation in this meeting. I'm not going to hold anything back, but I just want to find out what's going on.
Sorry, go ahead.
You misunderstand. I'm in an advisory role only, and my Marines are only here if required. As such, we might as well all go. There might, since we do not know the nature of the issue, there might be something that my expertise can advise on.
I'd be more than happy to call you if we need that help. But I would like to keep the situation calm at the time being, for the time being. And I don't know what Wayne's issue is with informing our UPP partners. I don't know if it's a valid concern, but I'm sure it's not, since we are partners. But I don't need to increase the stress level of anybody at this moment. I'll be happy to explain what's going on after I get the lay of the land.
Nostromo stands from the table and says, "Well, since you specifically requested for me to come along, then I shall come as well." And Colonel Sotillo as my direct security advisor here, we will have her come along. Mr. DeCowd, believe you're coming with us as well?
Sure thing.
Since Nostromo looks at, oh, there's Nostromo. As soon as he stops spinning.
Where's the Jeopardy music?
That's right. Oh my God, Nostromo, you've got something on your forehead. I want to try something real quick. Jesse, you there? He's still loading. He had a technical difficulty when we first started, too. Ruh-roh. Uh-oh, I'm on the wrong screen. What'd he say? You guys don't hear or see him, do you?
No.
Nope.
I do not either.
Yeah, Jesse, we don't hear you. Do you hear us?
Maybe we all have to
Okay,
reconnect like last time.
I reconnected.
All
Can
right.
you hear him, Marty?
Jesse?
Yeah, can you hear Jesse speaking?
Yeah.
Yep, I can hear after reconnecting.
All right.
Okay.
Got it.
Hear everyone again.
Hey, there he is. All right, perfect. So, quick 2-minute recap, Jesse. You guys all came together for the meeting, and you basically all recapped the day. It was the operation on Billy went well. The anesthesia is still active on him, which Monahan is considering that a success, but with the semi-intoxication that it's doing to him, it's probably a dosage thing, so there's obviously a lot more studies to be had there. She's also provided Charles Gould their first tube of refined lubricant to try on his mining conveyor belt that is having issues. And then just as soon as it looked like things were probably starting to wrap up a little bit, Charles Gould got a call on his radio from Wayne Arpaia that said, hey, need you to come down to the mine to check something out. You just need to come see it for yourself. Bring Dr. Monahan if you can, and then right there in front of everybody in the room, also said over the radio, and let's just keep it quiet from the UPP guys for now. So I tried to keep your character going. I did my best to channel my inner communist, which was a little difficult because you're much better at it than I am. But,
The trick is you just come up with some witty parable from eons past, and at the same time, you just give everyone from each according to their ability, to each according to their need, and we have less need than the manual laborers, so less rations.
Yep.
And that was relayed to us, and I think we generally agreed.
Yeah. And then as far as the keep it from the UPP people, obviously you, Sotillo, and DeCowd all heard it right over the radio. So I think you've pretty much all decided to head up to the mine and see what happens.
All right. How far is the mine? Do we have to trek, or do we have a vehicle?
The mine is 6 kilometers away.
All right, we need a vehicle.
Yeah, you can do it on foot, but it'll take some time. There are Daihotai tractors in the vehicle depot, which you could do that in a tractor. You can do that 6 clicks in 2 turns. Unless someone wants to make a piloting roll. With a successful piloting roll, I'll let them do it in half the time.
I don't think it's a big hurry. I'll just mention to the guys. Why don't you get? How many of us are going? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I don't know if that's 1 tractor or 2 tractors, but
they hold 6. So
why don't you somebody get a tractor? I gotta jump into my office and get something. Let's get to the mine, see what's going on.
It sounds like a plan.
All right.
So in my office, I'm going to grab a clipboard and some stuff to write with. I've got the tube of lubricant still in my hand. I might as well keep it, because we're going to the mine.
Yep.
And I also call Wayne on the radio and explain to him that his big blurt occurred in front of everybody, so there was no way I could keep this under my hat. So he can expect company, UPP company, at the mine, and I expect him to be on his best behavior.
All right. He, expletive deleted when you tell him that. He goes, all right, sorry.
And I'll explain to him that's why before you say something sensitive, you always say, are you alone?
Am I on speakerphone?
Are you alone? Can I speak freely?
Yep, take me off speakerphone. He goes, you're right. You're right. It's just, anyway, just come on up here. I'm going to start down towards you, and then you guys are coming in a tractor, or are you walking? Yeah. All right, so you can pick me up on the way up.
All right. So I exit my office. Where is everybody?
I imagine somebody, probably, Martin, you being the workers' right representative in Roughneck, you're probably the guy who went to get the tractor out of the vehicle depot, I would imagine.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Oh, and I should have told you guys, by the way, and this is my fault. There is one thing in the colony that is not on the map. It may not even come up. It's something that came up as an afterthought. Obviously, a colony of this size requires power to run. You've got a lot going on, so there is a power plant. There's a small fusion reactor. It is underground, kind of smack dab in the middle of the colony. It is accessed by a maintenance tunnel that goes from the vehicle depot or from command to that to the reactor room, which requires special access to get into. Should it ever come up, just keep that in mind. All right, so let's make it simple. You guys all pile up into the tractor, and you start heading up, right?
You betcha.
All right. So about halfway, you're vaguely going uphill because the mine is set into the foothills near the mountain range. So your overall your altitude is climbing slightly as you go. Even though you kind of go up and down hills, the conveyor belt that goes from the mine all the way to ore processing goes right next to the road, and on the other side is the freshwater stream that goes all the way down to the colony and empties into the bay. You see good old Wayne when you're close to halfway up, he's kind of flagging you down as you guys are going up the road. I'm assuming you stop and pick him up and don't run him over. And he says, "We're going to." Who's driving? Martin, are you driving?
I thought.
Yeah, that's no problem.
Yeah, you're not doing anything crazy, so this isn't a piloting role type situation. You're just driving. Wayne says, "All right, Mr. DeCowd, you are going to, you're just going to keep driving all the way up to the mine. And you guys have all seen the mine entrance. It's large enough to accept one of these tractors." He said, "You're going to drive straight in and just keep heading down. Ignore the side passages. We're just heading straight down in." So as you continue, he's talking. He says, "Of course, we all know the ground penetrating radar told us there was a large cavern here, and that's where some of the bigger deposits are that we're after. So we've been making our way towards it. It's been tough going. We've had a lot of mixed iron ferrite and stuff to get through. It's been tough. You guys reach the mine entrance, and he just points and says, just drive straight in. As soon as you go in, the mine immediately tilts downward, and you're heading down deep underground. You're passing a couple side passages here or there. The conveyor belt just runs all the way in, and you're following it. You're probably not going very fast inside a mine shaft. Maybe 10 kilometers an hour, or maybe a little faster. And it's starting to get dark. There's obviously lights down here, but it's the sunlight from outside. You're deep down into the ground now, so the sunlight's well past behind you, and you're operating on intermittent lights in the mine shaft. He says, we're coming close now, and then eventually goes, "Okay, you can stop right here." The headlights on the tractor shine forward probably several dozen feet, and it looks like there's it's a little hard to see, but it looks like there's a hole in the tunnel wall. He opens up the door to the tractor, and he says, we're about almost a mile underground at this point. Who wants to make a straight empathy check?
I'll do it. I have a pretty high empathy skill.
Yeah, when I said who wants to, I pretty much mean everybody make a straight empathy check.
Okay. By the way, we lost your video, or at least I lost your video.
Oh, did you? All right.
You're
still hear
frozen
you.
on mine, making a very inquisitive expression. I'm not gonna like the outcome of this.
All right.
Mhm.
You know, Fidanza, Nostromo, and Decaud and Sotillo, the fact that you're a mile underground of rock and dirt and who knows what else, and this tunnel is dark, it's rough hewn, it's just not, the air is thick, it doesn't move. I'm going to say that gives you a point of stress. Gould, on the other hand, you know, you've been in these situations before. I don't think it bothers you that much. Let me reconnect real quick. All right, am I back? I'm back. I think I'm back. You guys hear and
More
see me?
lovely roll 20 tech problems.
You guys don't hear me? Hello? Shit. All right.
Wow.
And we're not even using advanced features in Roll20.
Hello, hello?
It just seems to happen a lot. I don't know what the other available options are for this kind of thing, but I
It's
wonder
basically Foundry, I think.
All right. It said try reconnecting, so. All right.
Oh, okay.
Hachi?
Yeah. Anything? Yes, no?
there we go.
You got me? Hello? Shit.
I hear you. Can you hear me?
I hear you. Yeah. You hear me.
Yes, I do.
Okay. Gould and Sotillo, you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Jesse said he couldn't hear you, so he's trying to reconnect.
All right.
As we can tell by the Wheel of Death.
Yeah. Sotillo, are you good? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. The roll 20 roulette.
Dude. We were going, we went weeks without any issues. Nostromo? No, he's still spinning, isn't he?
Yeah, he's still spinning.
Do you guys hear Bob?
Yes, I hear Bob.
I don't hear Bob.
I hear Bob.
Shit. Alright, let me reconnect.
Okay, Jesse?
Oh, I got Charles. I got.
Hey!
Marty.
Jesse, I hear you. You hear me?
I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you, Marty. Do you hear me?
Yeah, I got you.
Bob looks like he's reconnecting.
Jesse? Was Jesse speaking?
Yep.
Because I couldn't hear him. I don't know. Can you say something, Jesse?
Jesse, can you hear Sharif? Can you hear Decaud?
I can hear.
I cannot hear him.
Decaud say something.
Yeah, he's speaking.
I can.
God.
All right,
I can't hear.
It seemed to help me when I left.
Decaud.
He's going to
Last time.
close and reload. Give him a second, Jesse.
Oh,
I
okay.
hear Sharif.
No, yeah, Sharif, go ahead and why don't you just reload and see if that. Sotillo,
Be right back.
yeah. Bob, you can hear okay? Yeah, we might have.
Hi.
We might have to end up going to Discord. If this continues, this is obnoxious.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, I hear you, Sharif.
Yeah, Discord
now.
did not work well for me last time we tried that.
No, you're
That
right,
was,
it didn't. You had trouble
It
with
was a kiss of
Discord.
death. Yeah. I mean, I think I could hear you guys
Right, but you couldn't speak. You had to type everything out,
at the type, you know.
which really hurts the role-playing experience.
Right.
So is everyone here, or are we still
I think
not connected?
I think
I'm here.
I think we're all
I
here.
actually heard you, Jesse.
Yeah, I'm
Working.
back for once.
All right.
Bob?
Bob?
All right.
Hooray.
Wait, you guys hear Bob?
I
Yeah.
hear Bob.
I don't
I
hear
hear
Bob.
Bob.
Then reconnect.
Good God Almighty! Be right back. Bob?
Yes.
Yay! I got Bob.
Okay.
Oh, I got Marty.
All right. Jeezy, Pete. All right,
You
cooking
didn't
with
do
gas.
that right. You're supposed to say something, Bob, and Bob's supposed to say something.
That's right.
All right.
All right.
Hey, Marty, quick thing here. I'm not one to dodge a stress die. I'm fine with it, but I think isn't Martin like a lifelong roughneck? Isn't he used to being in?
You know what? I'll
This
give
kind of
it to you. Yeah, that's a strong point. I'll give that to you. Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. That's fine. So Wayne clicks on his high beam flashlight and he's shining it ahead of him. He goes, come on, it's back here. And he's heading towards the hole knocked in the wall. Okay. Just outside, like I said, it's just outside kind of the distance of the lights on the tractor. And you guys reach the end of the tunnel and he says, this is where we broke through into the cavern. And he shines his flashlight into this hole that's probably not quite a meter wide and over a meter tall. He says there's a large cavern inside here, and when he shines the flashlight into the hole, staring back at you is a giant stone face with very chiseled features, and the face's eyes are open, and its mouth is in a grim, almost disapproving look. Has almost grim, disapproving look on it, and the eyes are open on this stone face, but they're blank, much like an ancient Roman statue would be. And
So obviously, when you said face, it's humanoid.
it's a humanoid face, but the features, the lips, the chin, the cheekbones are exaggerated. They're almost like classical art.
Sorry, guys, I got an important phone call. I'll be back as soon as I can.
Okay, do what you gotta do. And that's what's looking back at you. Now, with the exception of the Arcturans, you're all very aware that there is no intelligent life that has been found anywhere in the galaxy, at least not within 20 parsecs of Earth. And the fact that on this world that up until 3 years ago had no sentient life on it, and those were colonists from Earth, the fact that there's a humanoid stone face carved into this cavern, I think that's worth a point of stress, don't you guys?
I agree fully.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. Well, you're getting it anyway, Bob. I'm sorry. Hate to tell you. Let me give one to Monahan as well. Wayne says, I've already sent all the workers home for the day. Until we kind of figure this out. But he says, let's. Well, here, just follow me. And he kind of hikes up a leg and puts it over the through the hole and ducks down and moves his way inside.
Okay, I'm right behind him.
All right.
This is weird.
So inside the cavern is dark, and as you're coming through, there's no question that there's rubble and debris from where they broke through. I'm gonna ask for a mobility roll from everybody.
Oh,
Yes, please.
can I ask Can I ask Martin to rotate the tractor so the lights are shining in through the hole?
Yeah, I imagine Martin could do that for you.
All right. Well, he's on a phone call, so
I'll make his mobility roll too.
okay.
And I need to make Monahan's mobility roll.
Oh, you wanted a mobility roll for not falling down on our nose.
Pretty
Okay.
much, yeah. Pardon me, sorry. All right. Wow. Oh my God. All right, go ahead and roll your panic gold, and I'll roll DeKalb's.
Although it's silly, but I'll roll it.
Yeah, well, you could end up with a nervous twitch. You never know.
No, I rolled a 2, and I've got a -2 adjustment, so
Oh, that's true. So
I have 0.
So you and Martin are holding it together. Did anybody fail the mobility roll? No, nobody failed the mobility roll. Wow, that's impressive. All right, well, very good. And
So no one skinned their knees or broke their nose or anything.
turned an ankle or anything. So as you get in between the light shining in through the hole from the tractor, combined with Wayne's high beam flashlight, which he slowly passes around the cavern, you're in a large cavern. Actually, it's a good 20-30 meters across. There are probably a half dozen more of these carved humanoid heads throughout the cavern. Some of them are very tall. Some of them are 10 or 12 meters tall, that stretch floor to ceiling, almost like they're acting like pillars for the cavern roof, if that makes sense. And they all look basically the same. These exaggerated features with the grim, disapproving glare on its face, slightly turned down mouth type thing. All with the exception of one. One of these heads is set into the far wall across the cavern. And this one... There you are, Martin. This head...
Sorry about that, I'm back.
No, it's okay. That's okay. We get it. This one is actually carved out of the living rock itself. And this one, the mouth is actually open. And pouring out of the mouth and into a pool below it, at your level, which it's slightly recessed, so it's like almost like a retaining pond. But pouring out of its mouth is some sort of fluid that in the flashlight beam it's as black as oil. And this oil, like I said, it pools in this pond and then it flows in a stream off to the south. And as the light follows that stream, there's actually a passage that goes along with it through the cavern itself. And it is, and the cavern, the passage, it's to the south, but then it starts to bend to the east, so that you can't see any further past, maybe 10 meters. And I think that's a good stop to end. A good place to end.
Okay.
So there's more than one of these heads in this cave?
Yeah,
Is that
you
what I
missed it. There were, as you guys came into the cave, there were about 6 of these heads of various sizes, and some of them went like floor to ceiling, almost like they were pillars for the cavern roof. And then there was the one head on the far side of the cavern that was a little elevated and was carved right out of the wall of the cavern itself. And this one had the open mouth with this black oil coming out of it into the pool below.
Black blood of the earth, Jack.
That's
Do they-
right. Do you mean
do
oil?
Do they all
We black blood of the earth.
That's right. I love
Do they
that
all-
movie.
do they all look like they've been carved out of the native stone?
Yes. Yes, they do.
Okay.
So,
Okie dokie.
does anybody have anything they wish to add?
Nope.
Nope.
We've gone full Prometheus. Never go full Prometheus.
Never go full Prometheus.
Never go full Prometheus. That's funny. Well, looking at, let's see. This is going to end Act 1. So in terms of story points for Act 1 agendas, I'm just going to go down the list here because it makes my life easy. Charles Gould, yes. Comrade Colonel Sotillo, yeah, I'm good with you. Oh, and by the way, anyone who played the last game gains a story point as well. Because I should have done that at the end of the last game at the hunt, but that was such a fun game. Everyone involved gets a story point. Period. That's all there is to it.
Story points follow the player, not the characters, right?
Correct.
Right.
Correct. So you're probably maxed out anyway.
I'm maxed out anyway.
Yeah. Giovanni Fidanza, Nostromo. You definitely earn a story point. Martin DeCowd, I think everyone's pretty much there. Yep, you get yours. And, well, I was running Monahan, so no story point for her.
We used a lot of story points at the end of the hunt.
Yeah, you did, which is... And that's definitely why I gave you guys one for the end of the hunt, and even though Zeus, you strayed a little bit away from the from Zeus's character, I like the way he played it. That at the end, and when it comes down to it, he's really kind of a coward,
Sure.
And the we're just going to hunker down and wait till they come to get us, and I'm actually going to pretend to care about my daughter for a change. I really kind of liked that. So, but everybody else I felt like played their characters very well. I really liked Jesse's take on Ahmad. Bob, Bob's agenda was to collect information about. He was playing Alfredo. His was to collect information about what they were doing there. So he wasn't just connecting to the computer with his PDAT to see what was going on in the cameras. He was downloading shit. So yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Bob, you sneaky man.
When I played the hunt with my live group, Marty played Alfredo, and in one of the footlockers upstairs, he found a bunch of magnetic tapes that had notes from one of the scientists on it. So that's how he completed it in that one. But it was I love that. I love that scenario. But I hope this one wasn't too slow and boring.
Well, they all got to start somewhere.
Well, it's ramping up.
Yeah.
You just got to get some time.
I like the pacing, and
we'll all die screaming sooner or later. Don't worry about it.
That's the best part.
It's the best part.
I will get Act 2 agendas loaded into the character sheets by the time we play next. I think I'm on for next Wednesday. I know, Jesse, you're out on vacation, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so I'm gonna have Jim step in and continue playing Nostromo at that point, and Andy will be back, so to continue with Monahan. And so if everyone's good, we'll plan on Wednesday next week.
sounds
Works
good.
for me. See you guys then.
All right,
Pleasure.
guys. Thanks a
very
lot.
much. Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys.
See ya.